Hey family, welcome back to my video. Today we will see, what if Naruto was devil and forcefully had harem with Koneko? Before we start, I would like to extend my sincere thanks to the original author of this story. Your generosity is greatly appreciated. Now enjoy the video. Inside Kuoh Academy. Something's wrong with Issei, thought Matsuda and Motohama, who were Issei's greatest friends, and also the other members OSF the perverted trio. They watched as Issei paid attention to the subjects, rather than talking to them about porn. Not only that, but he ignored them as he walked, and just hummed a random tune. Hey Matsuda, do you think he'll actually listen if you tell him about that new collection you have? Asked Motohama, quietly. Despite being mostly level-headed, he was worried about his friend. Of course he'll react, Matsuda almost shouted. Meanwhile, Kakuzu was walking in front of them, towards the cafeteria. The history of this place is pretty interesting. There have already been 2 great wars, with minor wars along the way. The technology is also pretty advanced, with guns and bombs. Not to mention, the ability to communicate to any place. The only annoyance is Issei's friends who expect me to say something. The trio reached the cafeteria, which was filled with students, chatting, and eating their lunch. As soon as they entered, the glare of the students returned, full force. It was at this moment, Matsuda put a hand on Issei's shoulder and said, "Hey Issei, I just bought some porn the last day, so why don't we watch it after school? Besides, it's the porno you've been waiting for, from the last month." The glare intensified, and everyone was expecting Issei to shout a yes. But Kakuzu just replied, "I'm afraid I have no time for such foolish things. Forgot, I was supposed to be a pervert. No matter, I'm sure I can handle it," thought the boy. All he received were surprised gasps from the students. The members of the perverted trio acted as if a kunai had been shot through their hearts. "Why, you're joking, right Issei?" asked Motohama, fearing the worst. His level-headed personality lost. The whole cafeteria was silent, anxious for Issei's answer. All they got was a short no, which threw every single person in the cafeteria into a state of confusion. Kakuzu merely ate a sandwich. On the outside, he was silent, but on the inside, he was chuckling madly at their reactions. It was almost refreshing, feeling joy again. A few students in the cafeteria were still frozen in surprise, when he had finally taken his meal. The glares were also significantly reduced, and he was sure that he saw a few girls giving him a small smile. Issei's 2 friends were on the verge of tears. "Hey, what's wrong with you two?" asked Kakuzu. But all he got was a glare from them and also a shout of "traitor" from them as they walked away, fuming. It would be fun messing with them. After school, Kakuzu was walking towards his home, humming a random tune. The events that occurred in school were refreshing and interesting. As he was walking towards his house, he thought about what had happened in the previous days. According to his memories, Issei was a worthless pervert who was asked by a girl to take her on a date, and she almost killed him. I wonder how he survived, thought Kakuzu. He had stayed in school for a while, in the library, where he learned much more about the area. As he walked, he bumped into a man with short black hair and a trench coat. Kakuzu ignored him for a moment, when the man spoke, "So, she did kill you, and now you're here as a devil. What are you talking about? And what's about me being a devil?" asked Kakuzu in a surprised tone. He could easily tell that this person was not human. In fact, he felt an odd feeling of dread. The man merely ignored him, then said, "Who is your master? Or have you already killed him?" the man asked again. "I don't have a master," replied the boy. "It seems I'll have to kill you then," spoke the man with a smirk, as he cast out a blue spear, seemingly out of the air, just like that girl. Kakuzu was confused about all of the mess, that he had died, and was a devil, and probably a slave. But he stood his ground, unmoving. The man looked at the boy, and saw his confusion, just like he said. He thought, and threw the light spear, towards the boy's gut. Kakuzu saw the spear coming towards him, and jumped to the left. The spear missed, but he saw that another one had impaled him in the gut. Kakuzu was afraid, and did not pay any mind to what the man was saying. He was afraid of going back, afraid of the pain, afraid of the torture, and afraid of the Shinigami. "Good night, devil," the man said as he prepared a light spear. He was about to throw it, but he felt an acute pain on his back. His coat was ruined, but his wings were okay, and spread out from his back for anyone to see. He turned around only to face a red-haired girl, a Gremory, no doubt. "Could you not touch my servant, Fallen Angel-san?" spoke the rather voluptuous girl. "Is he really your servant? He didn't even know what a devil was, not to mention his master. It would be a shame if anyone like me were to bump into him, and kill him, thinking that he was a stray. I suggest that you keep a better eye on him from now on," replied the man. "Thank you for the suggestion, but it's best that you leave. I'm Rias Gremory and this city is under my jurisdiction. Do not interfere further, or I will take drastic measures," the girl threatened, to which the Fallen merely smiled. "The same goes for you, heiress to the Gremory family. My name is Donasek, and I hope we will not meet again." Saying this, the man flew into the darkness of the sky. "You look pretty bad. Let's go to your place, I'll treat your wounds." These were the last words Kakuzu heard, before he blacked out. Donasek had flown and was now standing on top of a nearby building. Standing there, he took out his mobile, and started messaging. "The Gremory has the red dragon. Rainare killed the boy," he wrote, getting a reply. "I'm a bit disappointed in her, though it's no big deal. Anything else you want to tell me?" the man texted. "No, I do not. However, how long will it take? Oh, have some patience. Oh well, good hearing from you." Putting the mobile back in his pocket, the man flew away from the building, and towards a church. So, this is my attempt at a Naruto x DxD FIC. I'm not completely gonna follow DxD canon, only up to a certain point. And know that the FIC probably won't be perfect, as most of my DxD knowledge comes from other fanfics. Criticism is welcomed, but please no flames. Also, I plan on bringing the entire Akatsuki, except Obito and Zetsu, to this FIC. Most of them will be reincarnated as OCs, and no one will have a peerage. By Chapter 2 Note. I don't own Naruto and High School DxD. Hyodo Residence. What the hell happened last night? Were the thoughts of a certain reincarnated person. For all he could remember, he was impaled by a strange spear at the gut. At least I'm not dead. Who saved me? All I remember is the redhead, Rias, from the school. Kakuzu opened his eyes, only for his sight to fall upon the beautiful and naked form of said redhead. He closed his eyes for a few seconds, and then reopening them, proving that Rias was indeed in front of him. How troublesome. I just hope nothing happened between us. Kakuzu stood up from the bed, and put the blanket over the girl's figure. It would not only cover her, but also probably wake her up. Kakuzu just went to the bathroom, took a short shower, put on some clothes, and exited. As soon as he walked into the room, he saw that Rias was awake, her figure free of the blanket, with his mother standing at the open door. Stuttering slightly, the woman left the room. I can already tell that this is going to be a pain in the ass. Thinking this, the boy looked towards the naked girl sitting on his bed. Gremory-san, what brings you to my bed, naked? He asked, eyes slightly narrowed. You were really injured from last night, and I had to heal you. By embracing you in the nude. Spoke the girl. A small smile on her face, expecting a reaction. Oh, at least we didn't do anything else, and I must say, your healing technique is extraordinary. It didn't leave a scar or anything. Also, would it be wrong to assume you were the one who saved me before? He asked. They gave him and nodded, a small smile on her face, while she was putting on some clothes. So, the rumors are true. Hyodo has gotten less perverted. I hope it doesn't become a problem, she thought. Hyodo-san, may I call you Issei? She asked, earning a nod from the boy. Allow me to formally introduce myself. I am Rias Gremory, a devil, and your master. Kakuzu's eyes narrowed. This is interesting. There are devils, meaning that angels also probably exist. I wasn't expecting that. I take it that I'm a devil as well. Also, am I your slave? Slavery was a concept that Kakuzu wasn't fond of, as it had been the cause of his wealth addiction, as well as him turning into a monster. Even though he had accepted it eventually, he would have nightmares of the pain in the following years. It was also linked to the loss of his family. Yes, you are a devil and my slave, but I assure you that you will be treated equally, and I do not intend to abuse you in any way whatsoever. The girl spoke with complete surety. This easily cleared Kakuzu's thoughts. After all, she would remember this. After their discussion, The teens exited the boys' room. Kuoh Academy. Rias and Issei were nearing the school, when a rather confused Kakuzu asked the girl, "Gremory-san, how did you manage to trick my parents?" Being honest, he was actually a bit intrigued. "It's just one of the perks of being a devil," spoke the girl, a small smirk on her face. As they entered their school, Issei was immediately bombarded with looks of envy from both genders. Kakuzu was pretty sure that he even heard some absurd rumors, such as, Issei has blackmailed Rias, or some even stupid ones. The kid's perversion might have been a problem in the future. "I'll see you later, Issei. I'll send someone to bring you to me," the girl spoke. "Who are you going to send?" asked Kakuzu, as it could possibly be a trap. "Oh, I guess I'll send Kiba," said a mildly surprised Rias. She could see why he asked her that, considering she had a lot of admirers. "Thanks for telling me. I guess I'll see you later." "Bye I guess," spoke Kakuzu, earning a bye from Rias. Unknown to the both of them, a person was listening, a person who walked away before he could hear that Kiba would be sent. The day went quickly, and the lessons weren't even that difficult. Any moment now, thought Kakuzu as he looked towards the clock, bored. There were only a few minutes left. To make it worse, the teacher had actually given them a few last minutes of school free. He was pretty bored. The students in the room heard a knock, and watched as a boy with short black hair and blue eyes, Naoto Uesato, came into view. "Gremory-san wants to talk to you, Issei," the boy said. "He's not Kiba. It's probably some sort of trap." "Oh well, I'm bored, might as well kill some time," thought Kakuzu. "Okay, I'm coming," he replied. After the two boys had left, the prince of Kuoh, Kiba Yuto, came into view. "Have any of you seen Issei?" Rias Senpai wanted to talk to him. He spoke gently, immediately earning a reply from some girls. The situation was simple. Issei had gone with someone else. How troublesome, thought Kiba with a mental frown. He would have to track him down. The boy had took Issei to the back of the school building. "I can almost sense 2 or 3 more people here. A trap it is, I guess." "Issei Hyodo, you made a mistake the moment you took Rias's heart," spoke Naoto, as he looked at Issei. This earned a surprised from Kakuzu. "A fanboy, huh? I'm afraid I don't know what you're talking about," spoke the miser. "Shut up, you know what's going on," spoke another boy who was previously hidden. Another person also made his presence known by saying, "We've liked Rias from a long time, yet you, a nobody, have taken her heart. So, all of you are her fanboys, and or her stalkers," stated Kakuzu, which earned him hatred from the other boys. "You bastard. You'll pay for saying that," spoke a boy, as he neared Kakuzu. "So, are you going to do something? 'Cause I'm bored," taunted Kakuzu. The other boy threw a sloppy punch at him, which Kakuzu easily grabbed, pulled, and threw the other boy at his friend, resulting in the both of them getting knocked out. "They're even worse than genin. Looks like devils are physically stronger too," thought the miser. His thoughts came to a sudden halt, when he felt it, pure killing intent, from Naoto, who had found a sharp shard of glass lying around. The boy raised his makeshift weapon, and attempted to stab Issei. Kakuzu turned around, and on reflex, raised both of his arms to protect himself. The occurrence which followed, surprised everyone. In a sudden flash, a blood-red, scaled gauntlet, with a shining green gem appeared on Issei's left arm. Naoto's weapon shattered the moment it came into contact with the mysterious gauntlet. What the hell?" spoke Naoto, mirroring Kakuzu's thoughts. Taking advantage of the other boy's surprise, Kakuzu attempted to punch him, but the hilt of a blade found its way to Naoto's skull, knocking him out. The boy fell, revealing Kiba Yuto, holding a small knife. "Is-san, are you okay? Rias Senpai wanted to speak with you," he spoke. "I knew that, I was just bored, so I followed him, and beat Rias' stalkers. They're just knocked out though, so don't worry about them," spoke Kakuzu. Shrugging, the blonde spoke, "Whatever, allow me to take you to Rias Senpai. Follow me." Kakuzu soon followed the blonde, but his thoughts fell upon the fight. It was pretty easy, but now he was a bit thoughtful about the gauntlet. It was sturdy, sure, but he knew it held some deeper secret. He had also realized that he didn't have any of his previous abilities, which was pretty bad, but he probably had another overpowered weapon, in the form of the gauntlet. The two boys then made their way to the old school building, and entered the club room for the Occult Research Club. And here you people, Chapter 2. As you can see, I've made a minor change. Well, the updates, I'll try to update at least every week, so don't worry if it doesn't come up daily. I'll try to write the review answers, but no promises. Phoenix Rojo 36 and Carlos 1234 IFY. Thank you. DJC 666. PM. Thank you, but no, it would make him a bit op. Guest. As Worden before, no, it would make him op. Also, since Akatsuki members won't have their previous abilities, they will have new ones, and they might recreate them. Also, every member has her memories, and they know how to use their previous abilities, they just can't use them. Bye. Chapter 3 Note. I don't own Naruto or High School DxD. Old Kuoh Academy Building. Occult Research Club Room. Kakuzu and Kiba had just entered the club room. Kakuzu had ultimately concluded that Kiba might have been a devil as well, which would explain how he summoned a blade, and made it disappear on will. As he entered the room, he saw Rias Gremory, who was ready to do some of the club's paperwork, along with Anther Girl, with black hair, and an orange ribbon which tied her hair into a pretty long ponytail, Akeno Himejima. The room consisted of all that he would link to supernatural stuff. It was the Occult Research Club, a runic circle, something about triangles, etc. Oh, greetings Issei, what took you so long? Rias asked, confusion on her face. Nothing much, just got dragged into a scuffle with a few of your stalkers. Came, Issei's reply. What happened? The redhead asked once more, with narrowed eyes. I'm telling the truth, some of your stalkers cornered me, and I thought that since you were my master, I had to defend your honor. Spoke Kakuzu, with a pinch of sarcasm, which was read by every person present. Era, looks like he's white knight type, Kiba. You should defend your position. Spoke Akeno with a giggle, earning raised eyebrows from Kakuzu, and a rather sheepish chuckle from Kiba. So you're Hyudu Issei-kun? The Ravenette asked. Earning a nod from Kakuzu, she spoke once again. My name is Himejima Akeno. A pleasure to meet you. Please remember me. With common courtesy. I'll be sure to. Besides, I'm guessing that every person present in the room is a devil. Spoke Kakuzu politely, earning a nod from Kiba. He also noticed a younger, quiet, white-haired girl sitting on a sofa, eating some sort of cake. Issei-kun. Spoke Rias, catching the boy's attention. You remember the man from last night, don't you? She asked with a small smile. Oh yeah, the one with the crow's wings. Spoke the brown-haired boy, earning himself raised brows from Kiba and the quiet girl, a nod from Rias, and a smile from Akeno. You see Issei, that man was a fallen angel. Fallen angels are those angels who went against the laws in heaven, and were thus cast into the underworld as punishment. Since the underworld is the natural place for devils, we are competing against them for area and resources. As devils form pacts with humans for a price, to gain power, but fallen angels take control of humans to hunt and hurt devils. Moreover, many gods have sent angels to kill devils, and fallen angels, making this a three-way standoff. It's been like this for centuries. Do you understand? Explained Rias, earning a simple nod from Kakuzu. I have a few questions, regarding my existence as a devil. He spoke. Ask away. Spoke the redhead, slightly worried. I'm guessing that there are a few benefits with this, he asked. Issei-kun, a devil is much more durable and stronger than a normal human, along with the fact that we have much larger lifespans. Kiba answered for Rias. It won't be much different from before, thought Kakuzu. A devil can also make his own peerage, which is a group of devils, which would do anything for their king. Spoke Rias, for example, my peerage consists of you, Kiba-kun, Akeno-san and Koneko-chan. Spoke Rias. Sorry, Gasper, she thought. Okay, I'm fine with being a devil. Spoke Kakuzu, clearing Rias' worry. Issei, you recognize this girl, right? The redhead asked, giving Kakuzu a small picture. A picture of a fallen angel. She's the girl who killed me, right? Asked Kakuzu, getting a nod from Rias. To be honest, I didn't expect you to talk about your death so freely. Spoke Kiba with a smile. Fakest smile I've seen yet. Thought Kakuzu, who then answered, well, a person can't survive without a heart. spoke the brown-haired boy. No one remembers her, except me and you people, spoke the miser. That girl was a fallen angel, like the one we saw yesterday. She killed you probably because you possess a sacred gear. Rias spoke, earning a sharp, "What?" from Kakuzu. Sacred gears reside in special humans, giving them abilities that are far above normal. Most of them only take effect within human society, but some are strong enough to harm us devil and fallen angels, explained Akeno with a smile. Issei, you have a sacred gear, spoke Rias. Do you mean this thing? Asked Kakuzu, as he extended his left arm, due to which the gauntlet from before appeared. Yes, Issei, that is your sacred gear, answered Rias, slightly relieved. It's a Longinus, and is strong enough to kill a god, she added with a smile. The brown-haired boy's eyes widened. How does it work? He asked, earning himself a reply. It doubles your power every 10 seconds, answered Rias. I wonder what would have happened if this much power was given to the pervert. Knowing my luck lately, I'll probably have to deal with some arrogant people, thought Kakuzu. Do you remember this, Issei? Asked Rias, as she showed him a card taken from Akeno. It's a simplified pentagram, spoke Kakuzu, as he had seen a lot of them in his previous life, when people thought he was a demon. Surprising, spoke the white-haired girl, to Koneko, according to his memories, in a voice almost devoid of emotion. Great, we have a mini Uchiha. Next thing I'll see is that she has special eyes, or something similar. Probably, thought Kakuzu. The people who used to make real pentagrams are mostly non-existent nowadays, which is why we hand over these simplified ones to people with strong desires, explained Rias. You took one of these, and when you were about to die, you wished to at least die in the arms of a beautiful girl, she added with a smirk. And that's what happened, didn't it? You revived me after that, and made me your servant, stated Kakuzu in a bored tone. That's correct. Now, I guess it's time to properly introduce ourselves, spoke Rias, as bat-like wings appeared seemingly out of their backs, somehow without damaging their clothes. After that everyone introduced themselves, and also told him that they were devils. Again, he also got to know that he could get his own servants when he ascended to power, which was only possible by handing out requests. Not much different from the elemental nations. It took him a hefty amount of time doing that, but it was all taken care of. Occult Research Clubroom. Kakuzu found himself once again in the clubroom, alongside his fellow devils. I've distributed all the pentagrams like you asked, President. The boy spoke with a tired sigh. Good work, Issei. We can now move on to step 2. She spoke with a bright smile, which had an effect on Kakuzu. Am I already getting attached to these people? Guess this has to do with me being reincarnated in Issei's body, he thought. Akeno, would you please? Asked the redhead, earning a smile from the ravenette, who nodded as she somehow created a runic circle under her feet. Good, now it's time for the inscription of Issei's magic in the runic circle, Rias spoke. Looking at Issei's slightly confused face, she explained, it's basically the proof of our relationship. It will also become the basis of all the magic you'll be using. So, this world contains magic compared to chakra. I wonder what are the differences, Kakuzu thought. Issei, please give me your hand, Rias requested, which he fulfilled. After that, a small runic circle formed where she had touched his hand. This will allow you to be summoned to your clients. Location. Akeno, are you ready? Spoke the redhead, earning a sure nod from the other devil. Okay, now Issei, go and stand in the middle of the circle, she said, and the boy did as told. However, the moment they tried to send him off, nothing happened. What happened? Asked Kakuzu. The sooner I get the job done, the better, he thought. Issei, it seems you don't have enough magic to even activate the runic circle. You'll have to travel by foot, spoke Rias, face palming. Sighing, the former shinobi walked out of the room with a fine, though mentally he was cursing at his luck. Another chapter, my readers. I'll be changing canon, little by little, beginning from the next chapter. No reviews this time, but I have more follows and favorites than I thought of getting. Either way, goodbye. Chapter 4 Note. I don't own Naruto or High School DxD. Inside apartment building. Kakuzu stood in front of a door which held the person who had summoned him. The door was numbered 206, had a light pink color, and some floral designs. I wonder who summoned me. It's probably a girl, who has lost one of her dolls or such. On the other hand, it could also be a boy, obsessed with flowers and the color pink. Thinking, Kakuzu pushed the doorbell. The door slowly opened to reveal a very muscular man, who seemed to be cosplaying as a standard, magical girl, from anime. "Welcome, and thanks for coming, Nio," spoke the man. "The hell?" Kakuzu thought, with an eyebrow twitching. "What did you want me to do?" the boy asked the man in a rather calm tone. "At least this isn't as bad as BNP," he thought with a slight shiver, noticed by the man. "I want you to turn Miru-tan into magical girl, Nio," the man spoke. "I'll take it that you're this Miru-tan," spoke the boy, earning a nod from the man. Sighing, Kakuzu spoke. "From when are you like this?" asked Kakuzu. Even though the person was probably insane, he was still a customer. Miru-tan was a normal magical girl, but Miru-tan accidentally made a potion, which turned her into a boy, the man told Kakuzu, slightly weeping. "And now she's stuck here in this body, without her powers, Nio," the man added. "What have I gotten myself into?" Kakuzu mentally asked himself. "Please help Miru-tan," the man spoke. "How do you make it?" asked Kakuzu, wearing himself a book from the man. "The recipe is in this book," the page is folded. Miru-tan could not prepare potions with her strong hands, Nio. The man then led the boy to what seemed to be a personal garden. "Take your time, Nio," the man said. "Sex change potion, huh?" Kakuzu thought as he prepared the ingredients. In a few minutes, the potion was made. "I doubt that this wool's work," thought the boy, as he handed over the bottled liquid to the man, who immediately drank it. "Thank you, Nio," the man spoke. "It doesn't look like it worked," spoke the boy, earning himself a reply. "It takes a day to work, Nio. Thank you, and here you go." The man handed Kakuzu a heft amount of yen. "Do you want to give me this much?" Kakuzu asked the man, eyebrows raised. "Don't worry, Miru-tan is an alchemist as well, Nio," came the reply, in a far more joyful tone. The man then took a simplified pentagon, and gave it to Kakuzu. "Goodbye, Miru." Kakuzu spoke, earning himself reply of, "Bye," from the rather deranged man. "I wonder what kind of hallucinogen he used," were the boy's thoughts as he went to his bike, and sped off to do his other jobs. Kakuzu's jobs had actually went swimmingly after the first. He had a good night's rest, and had actually came to school earlier than most students. He was only waiting for the school bell to start. It seemed as if he came to school too early. He was about to just walk into the school, when he heard a quiet cry of pain from nearby. Looking at the general direction of the sound, he saw as a girl had tripped in front of him. The girl had long blonde hair and was wearing a typical nun's attire. She also had a cross necklace tied around her neck. Helping her up, Kakuzu gave the girl her headdress, earning himself a reply. "Thank you very much." "Are you okay?" the boy asked, earning himself a nod. Looking at the girl's suitcase, Kakuzu tried to help, but the girl quickly prepared the suitcase herself, when the boy got hold of the girl's underwear. "Hee, you saw a bad side of me," the girl spoke, whilst blushing, earning raised brows from the former shinobi. "So, are you a traveler? Because you seemed lost," spoke Kakuzu. As he looked at the nun, who was slumped down, she spoke, "Yes, I'm lost. I was assigned to the church in this area, but I couldn't find it. Looks like I've got time to kill, besides it's not like she or the church can hurt me right now, unless they want a war." The boy thought, "Well, I could lead you to the church if you'd like." He earned a bright smile from the girl, who spoke, "The Lord truly shows the way," as she held up her cross. Kakuzu, for some reason, felt weak, as if someone had stabbed him. He suddenly jerked forward, earning a worried look from the girl. "It looks like devils are badly affected by holy stuff," the boy thought, as he spoke, "Don't worry, I'm fine." After that, the boy began escorting the girl towards the church. As they walked, the girl's eyes fell upon a boy, who was crying, holding his knee. The girl rushed over to the boy, muttered something and seemingly healed the boy, unknowingly earning herself a confused look from Kakuzu. "Oh sorry, I couldn't help myself," the nun said sheepishly in front of Kakuzu. The kid's mother soon came and upon hearing about what happened, threw an angry look at the nun. "I know those eyes. Even though I don't know the language," said the nun, There's nothing different in this town as well, she thought sadly. The boy she healed thanked her, which Kakuzu translated. After the event, Kakuzu had escorted the nun. What's this damned feeling doing here? It probably has to do with the holiness. Kakuzu thought. Oh well, I'll be off. Spoke Kakuzu. He received some protest from the girl, but he told her that he was in a hurry, and needed to go to school. Who knows, we may meet again. The name's Issei Hyodo by the way. Kakuzu spoke. His real name would always be Kakuzu, but Issei would be his name for the time being. My name is Asia Argento, please call me Asia. The boy walked away, after giving her a goodbye of course. Her ability was surely interesting. After school timings. Occult Research Clubroom. Kakuzu had told Rias about his encounter with the nun, Asia, and in turn received a long lecture from the redhead about the differences between the devils and the church. He was sure she said something about exorcists or something. Akeno then politely entered the room, and said, the Archduke has sent down an order of suppression. That led to Rias giving a lecture to Kakuzu about Rouge, or stray devils. After that, the peerage entered the last known location of the stray, a rundown mansion. As they walked, Rias asked the brown-haired male, Issei, do you know about chess? Receiving a nod from the miser. Rias then explained how pure blood devils were given these evil pieces, so they could increase their numbers after the war. This fact alone greatly intrigued Kakuzu, as they had the ability to heal all, and they were given certain advantages. She also said that some pieces also gave further benefits. She was about to explain more, when the smell of blood hit everyone's nose. Due to him once being a medic nin, Kakuzu immediately concluded that the kill happened recently. Coo, what a delicious amount of smell and heat, came a feminine voice from the darkness. Rias didn't move, yet shouted, stray devil visor, show yourself. As if following command, a figure appeared through the darkness. It was a creature with the head and chest area of a human, and the rest, part snake. Allow me to carry on with my lecture, now Kiba move. Spoke the redhead. Obeying the command, Kiba seemingly sped forward, towards the stray. Kiba's role is knight. His main ability is speed, with his strongest weapon being his expert swordsmanship. Kakuzu watched as Kiba easily evaded the stray's sharp claws, and with a slash, deeply scarred its arms, rendering them useless. Next, it's Koneko. The stray, now enraged, swung its tail, in an attempt to hit the blonde knight. The younger girl of the group defended him by easily grabbing the tail, which she jerked backwards, throwing the stray. Her role is rook, granting her immense strength and endurance. The stray got up, now injured, and sped towards the group of devils. Lastly, it's Akeno. With her role of queen, her abilities are a mix of the knight, rook, and bishop, granting her immense speed, strength, and magical power. Kakuzu watched as Akeno hit the stray with a multitude of lightning bolts, making it scream in agony. Akeno, though, had a blush, for a reason Kakuzu knew about. She's also the ultimate sadist. Of course I'm stuck 0k with a sadist, thought Kakuzu. Huh? That's strange, I didn't mean to kill her, though she's dead. Sorry President, I wanted to leave the last hit for you. Spoke Akeno, earning herself a smile, and a reply of, no problem, from her friend. Issei, let's leave. Spoke the president. As the group was leaving, they failed to notice that the stray withered away. Kakuzu immediately felt killing intent from the ceiling, and it didn't go undetected by the others. They looked up to see the stray, devoid of any injuries, lunging at the group. Before it could kill anyone, everyone heard a bang, and the stray dropped down, dead, due to an apparent hole in its head. They saw as an eminent figure entered the room, and walked towards the dead stray. She had pale skin, blood-red eyes, and medium-length blonde hair, which reached her back. She was wearing a black jacket, navy blue pants, and a red scarf. A gun was present on her waist and a machete on her back. The girl took the machete and cut the stray's head clean off. I'll be leaving. This'll make an excellent addition to my collection. She spoke, as she took the head and disappeared through a runic circle. Who was she? Asked Kakuzu. She is Magazi Zaidole, one of the best stray devil hunters, answered Rias. N. Here's a longer chapter than usual. Why? Because I didn't want to split it up. Now here's the reviews. Medister. Sorry for not writing about your review last time, also thank you for constructive criticism. Gracias. Shattering. Thank you. Also I agree that it would have been intriguing, but it would have been too simple. Kakuzu wouldn't form bonds with Issei's parents, as he was a battle-hardened shinobi along with the fact a deeply tortured soul. He would have probably never hear about the supernatural. Also, as of now, Kakuzu has not fully taken over Issei, he still remembers Issei's memories. A new character, I wonder who Kuoh it be? Chapter 5. Note. I don't own Naruto or High School DxD. It had been a few days since the peerage had dealt with the stray devil, and had met a stray devil hunter, Magazi Zidole, and currently, Kakuzu was with Akeno, in order to do some training. Kakuzu was searching for the Ravenet, and finally found her sitting on a bench. In the school grounds. Akeno, the boy called, earning the attention of the girl. What's the matter, Issei-kun? She spoke, whilst smiling. I want you to help me train in magic, came the reply from the miser. Why? Asked Akeno, eyes slightly narrowed. That's strange, why would he want to get himself into fights he can avoid, while knowing that the peerage would protect him? Were the girl's thoughts about her Kahai? It's just, I want to get stronger, and be able to fend for myself when the time comes. Spoke Kakuzu, also so I can hunt strays on my own. Was an afterthought. After the stray incident, Rias had told him that some of these stray devils had bounties, both from the human realm and the underworld, which told Kakuzu that currency also worked in hell. Okay then, follow me. Spoke Akeno, letting out a sigh, as she led him towards the empty clubroom. Kiba and Koneko were at their apartments, and Rias was playing chess with Sona Citri. Occult Research Clubroom. The two teens entered the clubroom in the evening, with Akeno leading the way. Please wait here for a moment. Akeno spoke softly, as she went to a room present inside the club. At least she doesn't curse as much as Hidan, and isn't sadistic all the time, thought Kakuzu as he waited for the Ravenet. Issei-kun, come here. Spoke Akeno, from inside the room. Kakuzu entered, and saw Akeno holding a clear glass sphere in her hands. Now, Issei-kun, place your hand on the sphere, and push some of your magic into it, Akeno spoke. Kakuzu did as told, and saw that it glowed an eerie yellow, with a small amount of orange mixed within it. Era Issei-kun, your magic nature is lightning, and looks like you also have a bit of fire nature as well. I'm going to have fun teaching you. Spoke Akeno, with a giggle and a small, sadistic smirk. Damn sadist. At least it's something I'm familiar with, was Kakuzu's thoughts as he accepted his fate, and nodded. Akeno then led the boy to a small room located in the basement of the old school building, while telling Rias about the boy's training, via text. The room itself had cemented walls, as well as a training dummy. Okay, Issei-kun, what do you want to try first? She asked, tilting her head slightly. Since lightning's my main nature, why don't we start with that? He asked, earning a nod from the girl. Fine, allow me to teach you the basic electric spell. She spoke as she seemingly threw something invisible at the training dummy with her forefinger and middle finger, which caused small lightning bolts to appear on its surface. In order to use this spell, you need to channel very little of your magic in your fingers, and then, you just throw it at your enemies. Akeno explained, the projectile should be invisible, so that you can catch enemies off guard, and potent enough that they aren't able to move a certain part of their body, or none at all, depending on the user. It can also be used to override their senses, so they perform poorly in battle. She added with a smile. And also so they feel a lot more pain. Akeno added mentally. Let me try. Spoke Kakuzu, as he pushed a bit of magic to his fingers, and threw it in the form of a projectile. Nothing happened, earning. Add a little more magic into it. Kakuzu did as told, and after a number of tries, met success. You did good, Issei-kun, for a beginner. Spoke the Ravenet. Now, let's proceed with the standard firebolt. The girl spoke, as she reinforced the dummy with a spell. In order to perform this spell, you need to push magic into your thumb and forefinger specifically, and then, just throw it. She spoke, as she seemingly did so, and threw a small fireball at the dummy, which moved at a speed almost too quick to be followed. The bolt struck the dummy, which shook. Like the previous spell, Kakuzu did as told, and after a matter of a few failed attempts, mastered the spell. However, he did need to work on his accuracy. Akeno-san, I want to ask you something, about President. spoke the boy. Oh, and what is it? Could it be that she has taken your heart? Spoke the queen, a sly smirk on her face, expecting a flustered response. It's just she seemed off, while mentioning this Magazi girl, came the reply from the boy. She gave him a sad sign, and spoke. Magazi, simply put, was one of Buckwo's first friends. I still remember the times we spent together, but 3 years ago, she changed. She was a kind girl, who cared for everyone, but became cold, and calculating, and just left. Interesting, were Kakuzu's thoughts, but then he froze, as he looked at the time. I'll see you tomorrow, bye, were the boy's hurried words as he left for his client on a bike. Near client's house. Kakuzu was barely on time, when he reached the house. Panting from the sudden exhaustion, combined with the training earlier, he failed to notice Asia, who was standing near the door, confused. Hello Issei-san. She spoke. Greetings Asia-san, what are you doing here? Came the reply from the miser, confused. I was asked to come here by Father Fried Selzen, what about you? She asked, tilting her head innocently. Nothing much, just here to fulfill a client's request. Spoke the boy, earning a surprised gasp from the girl. Why you're a devil, Issei-san? She asked, flabbergasted, and honestly a little scared. Yes. Spoke the boy, earning a reply from the girl, something about ambushing a devil. A tense silence passed, but both did nothing. Asia, as she didn't want to hurt a seemingly innocent person. Kakuzu, as for him the girl just emitted innocence, which was very rare even at times of peace. The two teens then heard some muffled curses from inside the house, which led them to investigate. The two teens, while entering the actual building, noticed a blue motorbike, but paid little mind to it as they reached the house. As they walked in the house, they saw a white-haired man, forcefully stuck in the wall, via a screwdriver impaled through one of his hands. The man was cursing, but then his eyes fell upon the nun present. And he stopped. The nun made her way towards the man and attempted to help him. Meanwhile, Kakuzu's eyes fell upon the only other person present in the group, a woman with autumn-colored hair, which was in a rather long braid, wearing black trousers, and a pale red shirt, with white claw pattern. The woman had blue eyes and seemed both tired and surprised. Kakuzu concluded that the woman was about to go to sleep. WHCH hurt his pride, if only a little. She's almost on par with Tsunade. Were Kakuzu's thoughts on the woman, when he spoke, I'm a devil, and you summoned me? Completely disregarding the nun, and the other man. I did, but you were late. Oh well, I just wanted to see if you actually existed, came the reply. That's it? Kakuzu asked himself, slightly angered, but at least he'd get some money. Also, I wanted to see if you knew about this, she added, as she showed Kakuzu her bracelet, which had a large number of gems on it. It just appears when I'm threatened, she added. A sacred gear. It's nothing to be worried about, in fact, you should ask President Rias Gremory, the girl who saved me, spoke Kakuzu in a strict business tone. It fucking made me see her as a kid, yelled the white-haired male, who had red eyes, and wore clerical clothes, which made Asia gasp out in surprise. Father Fried, why did you curse? She asked innocently. Oh nothing much, I just got stabbed in the hand with a screwdriver, also damned illusions, answered the priest. Well, you were attempting to kill me, spoke the only woman in the room, earning a surprised gasp from Asia, who looked at the priest. Well, I had no damn choice, besides, it feels good to kill evildoers every once a while, came the reply from said priest. Before anyone could speak up, Kakuzu sighed, and spoke, can you continue this later? I'm kinda running out of time, as well as the fact that I need some money at the moment. The woman scoffed and then gave him some yen, way less than what Miru-tan gave him, as well as the simplified pentagon. Ya no, you remind me of a money-obsessed asshole I once knew. Name's Fried by the way, spoke the priest, Fried. Issei, besides you remind me of a foul-mouthed idiot I once knew. Came, Issei's reply. They ended their conversation with a collective, strange. Just before the woman was about to say something, the floor lit up with a runic circle, and with a bright light, appeared Rias Gremory's peerage. The hell? Breathed out Fried as he looked at what happened, confused, and slightly happy at the ability to kill more. Ah, Hyodo-kun, we're here to help you. It seemed you were in a bind. Priest. Came the words from Kiba, Akeno, and Koneko, respectively. Sighing, the boy spoke, "Nothing's wrong here, I was just talking to them and retrieving the contract." Nonchalantly. "A group of devils, Oh well, who wants to die first? I'm kinda bored." Saying this, the priest leapt at Kiba, pulling out his sword, which was countered by Yuto's. Before things could properly escalate, Rias appeared. "I'm sorry, Issei, but I didn't think that a stray exorcist would appear here." "Are you hurt?" she asked kindly, earning a simple no from the boy. She then looked at said priest, and spoke, "So I guess my servant was in your care?" Before Fried could properly reply, she spoke yet again, "For me, I can't allow anyone to harm my properties, especially a vulgar person as you." While she blew a rather large hole in the wall, right next to his head. "Oh! Stop wreaking my house," spoke the woman who was ignored, and who hit Rias on the head with a kitchen mallet. Regardless to say, this had a unique effect on the people present. Rias was embarrassed that she had destroyed a small portion of a client's home. Whilst rubbing her head, Kiba and Akeno were sheepish. Kakuzu, Asia, and Koneko sweat dropped, and Fried was laughing, clutching his stomach. "This was the girl I told you about," spoke Issei, which earned him a sweat drop from the client. Just then, Akeno spoke up. "I think we need to leave, as a large number of fallen are heading here." As she was forming the runic circle, Issei spoke up. "Farewell. Also, if you want to talk to President, you need to go to Kuoh Academy." In the end they vanished without a trace. A second later, Fried and Asia left, completely disregarding the woman, probably because he didn't want to be defeated by her again. "Why am I surrounded by violence again?" she asked herself. Another long chapter. I guess the length would be consistent from now on, but no promises. Oh well, here are my review answers. Senibi 98. As you may have read by this chapter, Kakuzu's main element will be lightning, but don't worry, as because of his memories, he would be able to use fire with minor difficulty. Zentari 2238. It is, as this random brat, I think you're talking about Rias, saved his life. Also he knows how strong she is. He did witness her using her pod. Edboy 4926. Thank you, also please ignore them, I'll try to get better in the future. Medister, I know what you're saying, however for one, he only has his memories of being an S-rank shinobi, also at that time, he thought that only power worked in the underworld. Anyways, yay, that's it, so bye people. P.S. Thanks for the favorites, follows and reviews. Chapter 6 Note. I don't own Naruto or High School DxD. Occult Research Club Room. In the past few days, Kakuzu had met a stray exorcist, a nun, and an annoying client who had given him a rather moderate amount of yen. The only problem was that it wasn't actually money, rather most of it had been an illusion, not to mention the strange effect it had on his obsession. It seemed that his greed only worked on real money. Regardless, now he was in the clubroom, along with the rest of the peerage, and they were waiting for his client to appear. I wonder when she will appear, thought Kiba openly, as he read a book. Just then they heard a knock, and the voice of said woman. Speak of the devil, or in this case, human, thought Kakuzu, as he saw the woman in front of him. She was now sporting blue skinny jeans, and a white t-shirt, which greatly showed off her curves. I suppose he told you about me? Spoke the woman, pointing a finger at Kakuzu. Her eyes slightly narrowed, and a small smile on her face. She received a reply, yes, my name is Rias Gremory, spoke the red-haired devil. As she introduced herself, the woman in the room apologized for hitting the heiress, and she received an apology in return. Aren't you gonna apologize to me, for giving me the wrong amount of yen? Asked Kakuzu, glaring at the woman. He earned himself a reply from the woman. No, I don't feel like it. Leading to Kakuzu giving her a threatening glare. It apparently had no effect on her as she slightly chuckled, and gave him the rest of the yen. Thank you. Kakuzu thanked the woman. His glare dropped, as he begun to marvel at the yen. Greedy senpai. Deadpanned Koneko, earning herself furrowed brows from the mail. Tiny Kahai. He spoke in return, earning himself a tick mark from the girl. Looking at what occurred, Akeno spoke, Era, it seems as if both are being tsunere for each other. With a light giggle. This made both of the teens glare at the ravenet, and speak a sharp, no, at the same time, which led to them lightly glaring at each other, momentarily. A cough from Rias told the three that they should pay attention, which they did. While all of you were discussing something, she has introduced herself. Her name is Kasagi Amy, and she has decided that she will be a part of the peerage. Which earned her widened eyes from Akeno and Koneko, and a shocked look from Kakuzu. Kiba had been listening, so he didn't make any reaction. Why? Came the question from Kakuzu, to which Rias replied, simple. She can use illusions, and easily trick enemies, allowing us to attack them, not to mention she easily tricked a stray priest. But how can she be a part of the research club, as she's clearly too old to be a student? Spoke the brown-haired male. He heard a short laugh. Well, I was going to be the arts teacher at this school. Spoke Amy, her smile still on her face. Then it's settled. Amy-san, I want you to lie down. Spoke Rias, having decided what to do, and pulled out a chess piece. She's too stubborn for her own good, then again, she might be on the right track. Thought Kakuzu, as he saw the woman lie down. Rias then held a bishop piece, and put it over the woman's chest. I command thee, Kasagi Amy, on my name Rias Gremory, become my loyal servant, and walk the world as a devil. Thou shalt find great joy as my bishop. Spoke Rias, as a runic circle appeared beneath the woman, and the chess piece passed into her body. A sinister red aura surrounded the woman before disappearing. Was something supposed to happen? Asked Amy, as she stood up, but then Rias told her that it would take some time for her body to change, and also gave her a lecture on the relationship of devils, angels, and fallen, and also one on the church and pacts. Well, I'll be leaving then. A client's request came up, spoke Kakuzu, as he left the room. He could not help but feel something from the woman. Apartment building. Kakuzu was standing in front of room 206, yet again. I wonder what he has for me, thought the boy as he rung the doorbell. Though he was rather irked because of the man's behavior, but in the end, he had paid him more than any other client. Well, thank you for coming, Nio, came the familiar greeting, but the sound, feminine. Perhaps a friend, thought Kakuzu, as he saw the door being opened. In the entrance stood a fair-skinned girl, with black hair, styled into two ponytails, wearing a loose black tank top and red trousers. Greetings, I'm looking for Miru-tan, a male, spoke Kakuzu, in his business tone. The girl let out a giggle, then spoke, you're looking at her, Issei-san. Which completely surprised Kakuzu. Looking at the boy's expression, the girl let out a laugh and then asked him go come in. After you gave me the potion, and turned me back, though I ran into a problem, Nio, spoke the girl. Let me guess, since you wore your magical girl clothes in male form, they got stretched and were too big for you. Spoke Kakuzu, to which the girl sheepishly nodded. Here, take this and kindly buy me a magical girl suit. Spoke the girl, as she gave the male a rather large amount of yen. The boy gladly accepted the money. It was a bit excessive, though Miru did say that she was an alchemist, so no matter. You can do anything with the excess money. Spoke the girl, smiling, as she escorted the male out of her house, after telling the male about her size. At a restaurant. Kakuzu had made his first stop at a restaurant where he planned on quelling his hunger. As he was currently waiting for lunch, he saw Asia walking down the lane footpath outside. I wonder what's she doing here. I might be able to use her to check out the costume for Miru, thought Kakuzu, as he went outside, and politely asked a surprised Asia to eat with him. Thank you Issei-san. But aren't there any knives or forks around here? The girl asked, looking at the food, a hamburger, something he had yet to try, though Issei's memories suggested that it was actually pretty good. Oh. Well, let me wash my hands, spoke the nun, as she pulled out a bottle of holy water. Feeling a small amount of headache, Kakuzu offered her some wet wipes, which she used. She was about to do some sort of prayer, but Kakuzu stopped her, for his own safety. After they had taken their meal, Asia sighed in satisfaction. That was amazing, thank you Issei-san. Spoke a happy Asia, with Kakuzu agreeing mentally. Huh, what's that? Asked Asia, pointing at a cosplay shop. That's a cosplay shop. A place I'm going to next, for my client, Kakuzu spoke. See, can I help? It's just that I want to thank you properly for the meal, spoke Asia, a light blush covering her face. Sure, let's go, spoke the miser. He wasn't too worried about the yen, as he still had a lot. At a cosplay shop. Whoa. Look at all of these cute costumes. Spoke a flabbergasted Asia. She was about to check some out when two girls came towards her. What a cute outfit, I want to wear it next, spoke a girl doing cosplay. She then explained how Asia had been wearing the outfit for so long, and now it was turn for someone else to wear it. The girls then took her to a changing room, rather forcefully. The nun then came out, blushing profusely, as she was wearing a rather open shirt, along with dark leggings. She even had two cat ears on her head, and her hair was styled into two long ponytails. You look good, now can you please try this one on? Asked Kakuzu, as he simply took a photo of the girl. They would sell for a lot at the academy. The boy handed the girl a standard magical girl outfit, similar to Miru's original one. Oh, and don't worry about your clothes, I'll ask them to give them to you. The blushing girl took the clothes to the changing room, as they covered more. Afterwards, Kakuzu bought the magical girl outfit, gave Asia her original clothes back, and also bought her a keychain, which she treasured greatly. After buying the items, Kakuzu decided to bring Asia with him, towards Miru's home. Apartment building. Kakuzu pressed the doorbell of room 206. Is this the place, Issei-san? Asked Asia, getting a nod from the boy. The door opened and revealed the smiling form of Miru. Greetings Miru-tan, and here's your outfit, spoke Kakuzu, as he handed the girl a bag. The girl looked inside the bag, said a loud thank you, and gave Kakuzu a large amount of yen, as well as the simplified pentagram. That's done, now let me escort you to the church, spoke Kakuzu, and the nun nodded and also thanked him in advance. The two teens then made their way to the church. Can we rest for a bit, Issei-san? Asked the nun, to which the boy nodded. Your healing technique, it's the best one I've seen so far. Last night, you healed a few bones in the priest's hand, and I'm pretty sure that it can heal anyone and anything. Kakuzu complimented the girl's healing ability, but then noticed the crying. Oh, what's wrong? Asked Kakuzu, a little confused. The nun replied, it's just that sometimes, I would remember MG past. The girl then proceeded to tell him about her past. She was abandoned by her parents, taken in by the church, worshipped as a saint due to her powers, and later expelled by them for helping a devil. My only dream had been to live a normal life, have friends, but I can't just because of this, spoke Asia, looking at her fingers, where her sacred gear would appear. Asia-san, there is no use in crying over spilt milk. True, your ability was the reason you couldn't have a normal life, but think of all the lives you've saved with it. Also, you would have been a nobody if you didn't have it in the first place, spoke the miser, his words having a great effect on the nun. She then spoke, would you be my friend? Which surprised the boy, but he nodded nonetheless, which made Asia happy. After all, she would be of great use to him in money-making, not to mention her innocence. That's not possible, came a feminine voice from behind. The teens looked back and immediately recognized her. It was the same girl who had killed Issei. Oh, it's you, spoke Kakuzu, nonchalantly. Oh Issei-kun, have you formed a couple with this girl, huh? I'm heartbroken, spoke the fallen in mock sadness. Actually she was helping me with a pact. Also, you owe me, spoke Kakuzu, in reply. For what? Killing you. Don't make me laugh, mocked the fallen, only to get an unusual reply. No, for the bracelet I bought you, spoke the miser. You're more interested about that. What about me killing you? Asked the fallen in slight rage. Simple, I became a devil, you know, much more stronger, spoke Kakuzu, with an afterthought. I probably also got my memories. Hey, I should thank her. Come on Asia, let's go. You've already wasted my time. Also, after today's ceremony, your suffering will completely disappear. Come, or else I will kill this filthy devil, spoke the fallen rather cruelly. Asia then slowly walked towards the fallen, then spoke, gee goodbye Issei-san, I had a lot of fun today. After that, the fallen took the girl along with her, and vanished into the night. Why would a nun work with a fallen? Looks like I'll have to save her offer all, thought the miser. After all, Yuma did owe him some yen. A.N. So here is another chapter. I wanted to update sooner, but my internet was dead for 4 days. Medister, Kakuzu's greed only works on real money. I hope you enjoy. Chapter 7 Note. I don't own Naruto or High School DxD. Occult Research Club Room. Kakuzu had just returned to the clubroom, after once again meeting the fallen angel that had killed him, as well as losing Asia to her. As soon as he opened the door, he was greeted to the surprised face of Amy. "What's the matter, Hyodo-san? You look a bit winded," she spoke. She got herself a reply. Asia-san got taken by a fallen. She was talking about some sort of ceremony. Getting raised brows from Kiba, Koneko and Amy. What are planning to do with the innocent nun? Amy wondered openly, a sour expression covering her face. "Huh, what's going on?" asked Rias, as she entered the main room, along with Akeno at her side. "The nun got taken by the fallen, who was talking about a ceremony of sorts," came the reply from the teacher present in the room. "Hey, don't think about going to save her or something. We and the fallen are enemies, and I will not risk the life of my servants," spoke Rias boldly. "Sorry, President, but I'm going," spoke Amy, having calmed down a bit. Rias was about to say something, but stopped when Akeno whispered something the king's ear, and Rias spoke, "I have to do some work with Akeno. Don't get into trouble," and left. Sighing, Kakuzu spoke, "Let's get this mess over with," as he was about to walk out the door. "Why do you want to save the nun?" asked Amy, who nonetheless followed him. "It's because she helped me with a client, as well as the fact that a fallen currently has something that's mine," answered Kakuzu, but then he noticed Kiba and Koneko following them. "Let me guess, you're coming because you don't want us to die," he continued, getting a nod from Koneko, and a sheepish laugh from Kiba. They reached near the church in almost a few minutes. Kuoh Church. The small group of devils were in an alley, which was near to the church. In a moment, Kiba pulled out the map of the church, which was studied by the devils, mainly Kakuzu and Amy. "It seems to me that there's only one entrance," spoke Kakuzu with a frown. This would not go well for them, as Kiba had told them that it would probably house a few stray exorcists, as well as a fallen, which Kakuzu suspected to be Yuma. "We can go through the main entrance. I'm pretty sure that I can put an illusion upon all of us," concluded Amy, her sacred gear appearing on her wrist. "Let's go then," Kiba spoke with a smile, as they walked into the church, masked as people in exorcist clothing. As they entered, they were noticed by none other than Freed. "Oi, who the hell are you?" he asked, his tone one of annoyance. He got a reply from the masked Kiba, "We are here to join the ceremony," he spoke, getting a chuckle out of Freed. "Do you really think you can fool me that easily? I know who you are, you fucking people," spoke the priest, as he noticed the small group change, and then resemble the group of devils from before. "Damn, I was actually right," spoke the priest. "So, what brings you here, fucking devils?" he asked. "We are here to save the nun. You can step back," spoke Amy, her eyes cold and calculating. "Oh, she's in the lower floors, don't know about the ceremony though. Oh, and I won't let you pass," spoke Freed. "Why not?" asked Kakuzu, getting a simple answer, "I'm bored. Besides, I needed to test something out," spoke the stray priest with a grin. Sighing, Kakuzu spoke, "Let's get this over with," as he charged at the exorcist, beckoning the others to come. Freed pulled out a light sword, and attempted to stab Kakuzu, who dodged, and the blade was intercepted by Kiba's. Koneko, taking advantage of her small figure, ducked and delivered a strong punch to the priest's stomach. The priest almost flew backwards, spit up some blood, and started panting. "You're gonna fucking pay for that," yelled the priest, as he pulled out his light gun, and started shooting the doe. Koneko got hit but only received minor scratches. Kiba, on the other hand, dodged gracefully, and made his way to the priest. They slashed at each other with their blades again, but everyone saw Freed's blade disappear. "Holy Eraser. A demonic sword which eats light," Kiba spoke with a smirk. This enraged the priest, and he jumped back, and looked under one of the benches. "Weak idiot priest," spoke Koneko in her usual self. The priest then stood up, and was holding of what seemed to be a stick. "Have you actually gone insane?" asked Kakuzu as he watched. With bored eyes. Everyone got shocked when they saw that a blade lit up on one side of the stick, which was bright as day. "Looks like I'll have to test out the prototype." "Coo," spoke the priest with glee, as he held the now formed scythe. "Now let me sacrifice you all to the real god," he spoke, alerting the devils present there. "It is time for Jashin-sama's sacrifice," he spoke as he laughed manically. Could it be? Damn it, it's Hidan, isn't it? Kakuzu asked himself mentally, unaware that someone else had almost the same thought. Kakuzu spoke, promotion, night, and sped towards the white-haired male. Upon reaching, he muttered a promotion rook, and blocked the scythe, using his sacred gear. Electra. Kakuzu spoke as he paralyzed Freed's legs and then spoke. Kiba-san, Koneko-san, and Amy-san. Go to Asia, I need to have a talk with this idiot. Kakuzu spoke as he stood a set distance away from the priest's attack range. Nodding, the knight of the peerage led the others down the altar. Now, I think it's time we had a talk, Hidan, spoke Kakuzu as he viewed the priest. How the fuck do you know that name? He asked, glaring at the brown-haired male. Simple, it's me, you half-baked idiot, answered Kakuzu. You're a fucking asshole, Kakuzu, and I just want to rip you limb from limb, spoke Hidan, to which the miser replied. The feeling's mutual. What are you doing in the church, and not out there killing everyone in sight? He asked, his tone mocking. The Jashinist replied, I have no choice. It's the same with fucking pain. Not to mention, I get to sacrifice some devils, as well as the people who sign your pacts. I should have expected this. Oh well, come down when you have the chance, the paralysis will wear off after a few minutes, spoke Kakuzu, as he went after the nun, leaving Hidan alone. Though before he left, he spoke, though, how do you do that without killing yourself? Causing as much pain as possible, came Hidan's reply, as Kakuzu left for the stairs. Ceremonial area. Kakuzu entered the area, only to see a large number of knocked-out exorcists, no doubt due to Kiba's sword, AMD Kaneko's strength. They all probably took them by surprise, courtesy of Amy. He then saw Asia, who was screaming out in pain. Kakuzu saw how an orb was being pulled out of the girl's chest, which he concluded was her sacred gear. He then formed the Electra spell, and threw it at the fallen, only to hit her as the orb was absorbed into her. The boy then sped towards the fallen, and while muttering a promotion, Farouk jumped and punched her, right on her cheek, which surprisingly sent her flying. He then noticed that his sacred gear was activated, and heard a faint sound from it, something like boost. He then picked up the nun bridal style, only because he didn't want to be put under Amy's illusion again. We need to leave. Let's go, were Kakuzu's words as he attempted to leave but was stopped by a chuckle. This will not make any difference. The nun is basically dead, and now I will remove you without a trace, spoke the fallen, who charged at the devils, her arm outstretched, holding a light spear. Putting the nun down, Kakuzu spoke a quick promotion, bishop, and ready to firebolt spell. As the distance between them grew less, Kakuzu launched the spell, hitting the fallen right on her chest, and throwing her off course. You really are an annoyance, Issei, spoke the fallen, to which the boy replied, I know. The boy then picked up the nun, to which the fallen spoke, a person dies when their sacred gear is extracted from them. In simple words, she's dead. She's still breathing, meaning that she's alive, spoke the miser. The boy then ran towards the fallen in an attempt to hit her, but he was clearly exhausted from his promotions, allowing the fallen to stab him in the leg via light spear. Gritting his teeth, Kakuzu pulled out the spear, and stood, much to the surprise of both. He, once again heard boost from the gauntlet, and dismissed it. He then closed the distance between them and punched her once more, this time knocking her out. His eyes then went to the nun, who was breathing lightly. Hey, Asia-san, are you okay? Forget it, we're going out of here. He spoke, but then heard the nun speak feebly. Issei-san, today, the time I spent with you, it was the best day of my life, spoke the nun. Oi, stop talking like you're going to die, Kakuzu almost ordered. He didn't like the nun that much, but her photos in cosplay would sell for a lot. Also, she reminded him of someone he knew, a long time ago. He felt a hand upon his shoulder. I was told by Bucko to not interfere. Good job on the fallen all by yourself. He saw Kiba speak and give him a smile. So, President's here, huh? Spoke the miser, and received a yes from the king herself. You're late, spoke the boy, rather annoyed. We had to stop by and visit a few fallen outside. Though, sadly I didn't get to play with them, answered Akeno, which to Kakuzu meant two things. Either Rias had killed them, or they escaped. He hoped that it was the former. I'd say that today was a success, spoke the president, to which a sour Amy replied, we lost Asia. We gained nothing from this. Which made almost all of them frown. Akeno, I think we should wake her up, spoke Rias, as she pointed at the fallen. Yes, bucko, spoke Akeno as she created a puddle of water in midair, which she threw on the fallen, waking her up. Greetings fallen, spoke the redhead, her voice sharp. The fallen replied, don't think that you've defeated me, soon backups will arrive. If they arrive, they would only see your dead body lying here, spoke the redhead, cruelly. The fallen seemed to lose all hope, but then looked at Kakuzu. Issei, save me from this evil devil. We can defeat her together, also I really did love you. She spoke with tears. Much to the surprise of everyone present, Kakuzu actually walked in her direction. I'll be saved, thought the fallen, as she saw Kakuzu lower his hand. She then attempted to grab his hand, but stopped when the male spoke. I'm not asking you for your hand. Now give me the wallet you stole from me. Making everyone face fault. You're more worried about your money, came the shouts from everyone, except the fallen. I guess this is it, goodbye everyone, thought said fallen, as she prepared herself for death. There is someone else who probably wants to kill her, president, spoke the miser, as he stepped back, and everyone saw an enraged Freed standing at the door, holding a scythe, whose blade was black as the night. You bitch. You're gonna fucking pay for what you did to my future apprentice, he spoke as he ran towards the fallen, but before he could stab at her, a man appeared, Donasek. Rainare. What were you thinking? You've probably disappointed Azazel-sama twice. We're leaving, were the fallen's orders as he grabbed Freed's scythe by the staff, and threw him at the wall. Rainare, who appeared to be saddened, nodded. I apologize for my underling's actions. This is goodbye. He spoke as he readied 2 light spears, and then threw them in front of him, towards the peerage. Rias attempted to use her ability, but stopped as soon as the spears impaled each other, and exploded in a flash of light. The light disappeared, and with it so did Donasek, and Asia's dead body. Another chapter done. As you can see, Asia's dead. I just want to do something no one else has done. Now, the reviews. Guest, done that. Guest, thank you, and I hope you enjoy. Dark Judden. Kakuzu is following Rias' orders as he knows that she can make him disappear through pod. He's also been told that devils who defy their masters become strays, and are hunted by the underworld government also. He gets a large share of money, and I haven't made him a bit OOC. Also all of his previous partners were probably weaker than him. So this is it. I hope you enjoyed this chapter. Bye. Chapter 8 Note. I don't own Naruto or High School DxD. Unknown location. Donasek, the fallen angel, had entered the place where his leader, Azazel, had called him, with the girl, as he had ordered. It would seem that his leader had found a new test subject, perhaps. Azazel-sama, I'm here with the girl, spoke the man. Calawarner, Middlet and Rainare had been put on house arrest. He was forgiven as he had been giving Azazel information. Good work Donasek-kun. How much time has it passed after her death? Asked the revealed Azazel. He was a tall man, who had black hair with yellow bangs. He had been wearing a coat of sorts, and black trousers. Donasek checked his watch, and spoke, it's been wearing roughly 1 minute and a half. Spoke the weaker fallen. The leader smiled, took the nun's dead body and disappeared into his lab. He would have to hurry if he wanted his plan to work. Kuoh Church. The peerage had just lost Asia, an innocent nun who they were to save. We shall have a moment of silence for Asia, spoke Rias sadly, and everyone did as so. The king then looked towards the knocked-out priest, who had been thrown by Donasek, into the wall. The fallen had escaped the same way as he had done before, and Rias had felt for it twice. She contemplated on whether to kill the priest or not. Deciding, she raised her hand but stopped when Amy spoke. It would be best that we leave. Her former cheerfulness disappearing, and replaced by a cold and collected one. The king nodded, and left, followed by the others, via runic circle. Rias didn't kill the priest, as it would result in nothing. If he was killed, more would take his place. She had a long day ahead of her, now she had to make sure that the members of the peerage would be able to move on. This was the first time that they had lost their objective. A few days later. Issei's room. It had been a few days since Asia's death, and most of the peerage had moved on. Kiba, Koneko, Akeno and Rias had changed back to what they were before, however Amy was still hurt from the event. Kakuzu was a bit sad at the death of an innocent life, but not that much. He had easily noticed that Rias was being a bit tense lately. He didn't think much of it, as it could have been anything. He was currently laying on his bed, trying to sleep. In the end, he had a pretty bizarre dream. Kakuzu's mindscape. Where am I? Thought the miser as he looked around him. He was currently in a cave that was full of yen and other currencies. This has to be a dream. I'm pretty sure that even Miru can't make this much, he thought, narrowing his eyes. He then noticed, via a reflection in a silver coin, that he had his previous features, minus his scars. He wandered around for a bit, but stopped when he heard a deep voice. The miser looked behind him, and was surprised, as before him stood a mountain-sized dragon, who had 2 pairs of limbs, and had 2 great wings. So, you're my partner this time around, though you look quite a lot different than from the outside compared to the outside, spoke the dragon. Who are you? And what are you doing in here? Asked a confused Kakuzu, eyes narrowed. My name is Diedrich, the dragon which resides in your sacred gear. From this day forward, we are partners, answered the now named Diedrich. Fine then, as long as you don't try to take control of my body, spoke Kakuzu, pleased that he had a Biju-sized being on his side. The dragon sweat drop, then spoke, I look forward to our partnership, but it seems it's time for me to leave, spoke the dragon, as it vanished. Issei's room. Kakuzu woke up, seemingly from the conversation with the dragon, and found out that he couldn't go to sleep. He then sat up, and started thinking. I wonder if the other members of the Akatsuki are here or not. Amy did look a bit surprised when Hidan revealed himself. Strange. I might have to tell Rias about the dragon. She might be able to help me. She might even tell me about her power of destruction. The miser then noticed a runic circle. What the hell? Thought Kakuzu as he viewed the runic circle that seemed to belong to Rias. Oh well, I might be able to ask her about my sacred gear, and also about her power of destruction, thought the boy. Rias appeared in a flash and seemed surprised at seeing the boy awake. Greetings, President, spoke the boy nonchalantly, eyes slightly narrowed. Has he even noticed yet? Rias asked herself as she looked at the boy, who, from her point of view, was sitting naked in his bed. Unknown to Rias, he was wearing shorts. Even though your timing is a bit strange, I need your help, spoke the boy, neutrally. Rias felt her cheeks heat up a bit, but she knew this was her chance, so she spoke, what can I do for you, Issei? After all, what would a 17-year-old boy need from a girl, a devil no less, on his bed, besides some business? President, I just woke up from a conversation with a dragon, who has called me its partner. Also I wanted to ask you about your power of destruction, spoke the miser, putting the red head in disarray. Why did he have to change all of a sudden? This would have been so much easier if he was still a pervert, she thought. Before she could speak, however, Kakuzu spoke, noticing Rias' lack of clothes. President, why are you naked? And in my room? He asked, eyes narrowed. The girl sighed, then spoke, Issei, this is really important for me. I want you to take my virginity. As she climbed onto the bed, and made Issei's hold one of her breasts. Kakuzu easily saw that she was seemingly desperate, and also she hadn't answered his question. Oh well, it had been a long time since he last did this, so he merely let out a sigh. Being a medic nin, he wasn't too affected by her breasts. What's the matter, Issei's, am I not good enough? She asked, feigning sadness. That's not it. You're beautiful, but I can easily see that you're being a bit desperate. I've heard that devils live long lifespans, so why are you worried? He answered, though he was feeling something in a certain organ. Rias, on her part, was hating having to control her servant in such a way, and also a bit guilty due to him seemingly caring for her, but she had no choice. Kiba would have refused, as he is a knight, so you were the only one. Also, because you're the only one for me. She spoke, as she tried to remove his revealed shorts, but was stopped by a red glow in the room. It was the Gremory runic circle. So close, muttered Rias as the two saw a woman in a French maid outfit. The woman had long silver hair which seemed to be in a few braids and matching eyes. What the hell? Thought Kakuzu, as he saw his current scenario, and also a little annoyed. Do you think that this will end the engagement? Asked the maid, her expression neutral, and showing almost no emotion. Oto-san and Oni-san wouldn't listen if I didn't do this, Grafia. Spoke Rias, annoyed. She just needed a few more minutes. So, she has a brother, And what's this engagement? Interesting, thought the miser from his position. If it's discovered that you have given your purity to a person of low birth, then both Master and Sears-sama would be saddened, she spoke. My chastity belongs only to me, and don't call my servant someone of low birth, spoke Rias, earning herself a thanks from the miser. Even so, it is not befitting that a gramarye heiress like you should go around, recklessly showing your skin to men. The woman lectured, as she handed Rias some clothes. Especially so, in a time like this, before something this important. She continued. The maid then seemingly noticed Kakuzu, and then spoke. I am the servant of the gramarye household, pleased to meet you. I will be your acquaintance from now on. In a neutral tone, which almost put Koneko's to shame. Grafia, did you come here on your own will, the household's decision, or is it by Oni-sama's will? Asked Rias, to which the maid replied. All of the above. Her expression not changing the slightest. Issei, can you please pretend that never happened? Asked the redhead, as she put on her clothes. I wasn't thinking straight either, she continued. Could you at least tell me about the dragon's appearance? Oh, and I'll do that, spoke the miser. That means that your sacred gear is properly awakened, spoke a surprised Rias. Issei, is this the one? Asked a surprised Grafia, a small amount of surprise on her face. Yes, this is my pawn, Hyoduo Issei, the owner of the boosted gear, answered Rias. Grafia, let's go to my stronghold, I can bring Akeno, right? Asked Rias, to which Grafia nodded. Yes, after all a king usually keeps the queen alongside, she spoke. Issei, Rias called, to which the boy looked at her. The girl gently grabbed the boy's chin, and spoke, I'm sorry for ending it here tonight. With a sweet smile. She then walked towards Grafia, and the two disappeared via a runic circle. Well, that was odd, looks like I'll have to train my body a bit, spoke a tired Kakuzu, and he went back to his bed to sleep, somewhat irked that they had appeared. The next day, old Kuoh school building. Kiba-san, you've noticed something different about President, haven't you? Kakuzu asked the blonde knight who was walking alongside him. They had taken their classes, and were currently on their way to the clubroom. Amy was probably already there, as she was a teacher. Yes, though I suppose it has something to do with the gramarye household, spoke the knight. I was thinking that Akeno-san might know, considering she's her queen, he continued. The two walked for a minute, and then reached the clubroom. All of a sudden, Kiba grew tense and spoke. I didn't sense this presence until I got here. How's that possible? The blonde wondered, and the two entered the clubroom, only to see the peerage, plus Grafia standing in the room, with the exception of Koneko, who was sitting on a stool, munching on some sweets. Now that everyone's present, I've something to say before club activities begin, spoke Rias. However, before she could continue, everyone saw a flaming orange runic circle light up the room. Out of the flame came a blonde man wearing some expensive clothing, who spoke, it's been a long time since I came to the human world, spoke the man, with a thin layer of disgust. Oh, my beloved Rias, I've come to see you, he continued. So here is another chapter. I'm so sorry for the late update, my net was having some issues so I couldn't update the story. Onto the reviews. Guest, well, I guess there's nothing worse than death for her. The Weeping Prophet, no, however that doesn't mean that he won't be able to recreate it, if he wants to. It's Marwi, hello, and thank you. So, yeah, thanks for the reviews, faves and the follows everyone, and goodbye. Chapter 9 Note. I don't own Naruto or High School DxD. Occult Research Clubroom. The moment Kakuzu and Kiba walked in the clubroom, a flaming orange runic circle appeared, and out of the circle came a blonde-haired man. He appeared to be in his early 20s, and had deep blue eyes. He was wearing a deep red blazer with matching pants and had black dress shoes. Underneath the blazer, he was wearing a white dress shirt, with one button open. A noble, huh? He might be a pain, thought Kakuzu. Well, Rias, this is sudden, but let's go the place for the ceremony, the date is set up as well, so let's get it over with, spoke the man, as he grabbed the redhead's shoulder. So he's the person Rias is engaged to, She doesn't look happy about it, thought the miser. Let go of me, Riser, spoke the girl, who seemed angry. She doesn't like it, so stand back, spoke an irate Amy, her voice cold. The man, now known as Riser, looked at the bishop with little interest, and asked, "Oh, and who are you?" pretty arrogantly. "My name is Kasagi Amy, her bishop," spoke the woman, pointing at Rias. She just received a simple "oh." "She's right. Besides, who are you?" asked Kakuzu, finding amusement in annoying the man. He received a scowl from the man, who then spoke, Rias, don't they know who I am?" "You mean that there are people who don't know about me? They must be reincarnated devils, then." Rather arrogantly, his expression that of confusion. "That's only because there wasn't any need for them to know," spoke an annoyed Rias. Before Kakuzu could ask, he received an answer from Graphia. He is Riser Phoenix Sama, a pure-blood, high-class devil, and the third son of the legendary Phoenix family. He's also Rias Sama's fiancé, surprising the peerage except Akeno. Riser, in turn, gave a smug smirk, and spoke, "Sorry, but I forgot to ask who you are, you lowly pheasant?" looking towards Kakuzu. The boy glared at the man, and spoke, "My name is Issei, and I'm not a pheasant, you son of a bitch." Rather angrily. This led to a number of reactions from the people present. Riser seemed shocked, and then angered. Rias was equally as surprised, the same with Graphia. Amy gave him a thin smile, as with Koneko, with Kiba looking at him with wide eyes. "What did you call me, you lowlife?" asked an angered Riser, as he prepared a fireball in his hand. He was about to throw it at the pawn, but was stopped by Graphia. "Riser Sama, there won't be any harming others' units, and Issei Sama, your actions are reflecting badly on Rias Sama," spoke the maid, her gaze forcefully calming down the two males. "Shay, you're lucky that the strongest queen of the underworld has stopped me, otherwise you'd be burned to a crisp," spoke Riser arrogantly, smirking. "For the last time, Riser, I won't marry you," spoke Rias, her voice bold. "Oh, and how do you plan to do that? Your household is surprisingly pressing on this matter. Besides, this is vital for the survival of the pure blood devils of the 72 pillars," spoke Riser with a frown. "What are the 72 pillars?" asked Amy, narrowing her eyes. "In the past, there were only 72 families that originally had a peerage. After the great war between the angels, devils, and fallen, only a few survived. The Gremory clan, and the Phoenix clan are one of the few that survived," answered Kiba. "I don't plan on destroying my household. I plan on finding it a son-in-law," spoke Rias, but before Riser could comment, the redhead continued, "But I will not marry you. You know, Rias, that I hold the name of the Phoenix clan, and I won't let it get stained. The air here is filthy, and it is difficult to bear them as a devil of fire. I will definitely take you with me, even if I have to incinerate your servants," spoke Riser, as he let out his flaming wings for the world to see. However, before something could happen, Graphia stepped in, and like before, forcefully calmed everyone down. "The flames are strong, but a bit far from the Uchiha's black flames, though I'd take his heart if I had my original body," Kakuzu mentally noted. "It was expected for things to be like this. If this can't be settled with talks, then how about a rating game?" asked Graphia, which received surprised looks from Rias and Riser. A game of chess between devils could be fun, thought Amy. It had been a long time since she had a decent fight. Though she disliked violence, it was still a part of her life. "I thought that only adult devils could participate," spoke Kakuzu in a neutral tone. "As you know, Rias Sama can't participate in official games, but in unofficial games, even non-adult devils can play," explained Graphia. "Meaning Otou Sama and the others have already considered my refusal. When will they stop messing with my life?" Rias interrupted. "So do you refuse, Rias Sama?" asked Graphia, to which Rias immediately answered, "No way, this opportunity won't appear again." That said, "Riser, I challenge you to a rating game," in a voice full of confidence. "Do you really accept this? I've experience in official rating games, and I've even won many. So, are you sure?" asked the man, receiving a confident reply. "Yes, I'll do it," from the redhead with a smirk. "If you win, you can do whatever you want, and if I win, you'll marry me," spoke Riser, mirroring the redhead's smirk. "I, Graphia, Confirm your intentions. As the representatives of both your houses, is it all right for me to manage the details? Asked the maid, receiving, yes, from both high-class devils. Understood. I will convey the news to both of your families, spoke the maid, neutrally. Hey Rias, it can't be that you've gathered all of your servants, spoke the phoenix, arrogantly. Rias offered him a narrowed stare, and spoke, what about it? The man laughed, then spoke, this game would be a joke, except for your queen, the rest won't be qualified opponents for my cute servants. He then snapped his fingers, and then the phoenix runic circle appeared in the room, and out of the circle, appeared 16 females. One of them even looked like Riser himself. These are my cute servants, spoke Riser, with proudness in his voice. I can see that you're a borderline creep, as you have 2 kids, as well as your own sister in your peerage, spoke Kakuzu, stating the obvious. He didn't know how old the phoenix was, though the twins looked quite young. Hey, spoke one, Riser-sama isn't a creep, continued the other, their expressions showing anger. Ah, thanks girls, it's just that the lower class envies the upper class, spoke the man. The man then, in an attempt to insult the pawn, kissed both of the twins, but stopped when he heard a click, and saw a camera flash. What the? Riser was confused, as he looked at the pawn. What? Pictures like these sell for a lot in the black market, spoke the miser, putting Riser into disarray, though he was a bit irked. He has an unhealthy addiction to money, spoke Rias, face palming. To put some salt on the wound, Kakuzu sped forwards, and kept taking more pictures of his peerage members, a number of them confused, and a bit embarrassed. Kakuzu let out a mischievous laugh, then spoke, these would sell for a lot, as he eyed the pictures taken. Stopping from his antics, he spoke, your last name is Phoenix, any relation to Phoenix? Yes. As a matter of fact, I hold the powers of that bird, spoke the man, smiling smugly, mentally smirking. So you have control over fire, a nod. Regeneration, another nod, and probably asexual. Kakuzu finished, putting a flabbergasted expression on the man. What? Was all he spoke, when Kakuzu explained. According to multiple sources, a phoenix makes itself a nest and burns it, and from the ashes, a new one appears, meaning that phoenixes are asexual, as they don't need to increase their numbers. It was true, except the asexual part. Are you an idiot? Phoenixes breed when they want to, spoke Riser, defending the legendary bird. So, do you do the same with your peerage members? Kakuzu asked, his face showing fake innocence. Most of the girls from the Phoenix peerage blushed, and quickly defended the man. No, I do not. Riser spoke through gritted teeth, obviously upset at the current turn of events. Mira, do it, spoke Riser, as he signaled a blue-haired girl, who was wearing a white haori, with a red obi, under a red happy coat. She also had bandages on his forearms and shins. Yes, Riser-sama. She spoke as she entered a stance. Kakuzu shifted into his own stance, and awakened his sacred gear. In a blinding flash, the girl sped forwards, and attempted to strike Kakuzu with a wooden staff. Predicting this, Kakuzu readied a fire spell, that was missed by the girl. The girl hit the boy straight at his gut, but gasped when he grabbed her staff, as near to the middle, as he could get. What are you planning? She asked with narrowed eyes. Melt, was all the boy spoke, with a smirk. He was hiding the pain at the point of contact, and he used a new fire spell, which he learned from Akeno, of course. The girl was confused, but then saw that her staff was melting, something that was made of very fine material, at the point that the male had grabbed it. Almost instantly, the staff from that point broke, leaving the girl unstable. Kakuzu took advantage of this, and punched her in the gut. The girl was hit, though she thrusted the remnant of her staff, enhanced with magic at the boy, hitting him on his gut, where the staff had hit him before. The boy fell down, teeth gritted, with a smirk. The girl then felt a small amount of pain course through her body, and concluded that he had used a paralysis spell, enough to distract her. The girl ignored the pain, then stood up, and went towards her king. The man looked at the girl, she was hurt, but not that much. This is my pawn, Mira. In my servants, she is the weakest, but in the end she is stronger than you, spoke Riser, as he pat the girl's head. Said girl looked at the remnants of her staff and realized that it was only due to her underestimating her opponent. With enough practice, you might make it interesting, spoke the man. That said, Rias, let's schedule the rating game after 10 days, he continued. Giving me a handicap? Asked Rias, eyes narrowed. The man let out a short laugh, then spoke. I can already see the result if we do it now. In the 10 days, you would be able to do something about your servants. Oh, and remember, a king's disposition only judged if he can bring out his servants' power. The man then left the room via a runic circle, and spoke. Let's meet on the day of the rating game, Rias. A.N. So here's another chapter. Oh, and due to a mistake on my part, Chapter 8 wasn't updated properly, hope you enjoy. Draco. Please read the newer chapters before commenting, if you haven't. If you have, then I'll work on it. Chapter 10 Note. I don't own Naruto or High School DxD. Underworld. Fallen Angel Base. The scientist smirked as he viewed his latest creation. It was almost complete, there was only one thing left. Will Rainare please come to my lab? He spoke through a microphone. After a few minutes, the door opened, and revealed a panting female. You called for me, Azazel-sama. She spoke, as she offered the man a bow. The man spoke, yeah, I did. According to Donasek, you have the Twilight Healing Sacred Gear, that once belonged to the nun. Am I correct? The girl stiffened slightly, then spoke out a short, yes. Good. You didn't lie, surely you remember her, don't you? Spoke the Governor General, as he pointed towards what seemed to be an examination table. The girl followed the man's finger and gasped, for on the table was a carbon copy of the nun, though it just seemed unnatural. This is, Azazel-sama, why did you summon me? She asked. By researching sacred gears, I came to a major discovery. When the bearer of some certain sacred gears dies, a part of their soul is stored within it. That said, the consciousness of the nun might be stored in your sacred gear. He explained, as he remembered what happened with Valley. What do I have to do? She asked. The man merely smiled, and led her to a machine that had a small opening, the size of an average arm. The girl put her left arm within the machine, and waited. Are you sure this will work? She asked, hesitating slightly. No, either way, I do have the girl's memories. He spoke honestly. He then pushed a few buttons, and after the machine lit up, nothing noticeable happened. Looks like this sacred gear doesn't keep consciousnesses, spoke the scientist, scratching his neck, sheepishly. The weaker Fallen gave the man a bow, then spoke, May I leave, Azazel-sama? Yes. Spoke the man, as he saw his subordinate leave. Now that's done, guess I'll try you out. Spoke the man, as he viewed a small data card in his hand. Occult Research Club Room. Riser had just challenged Rias to a rating game, and she was surprisingly calm about it. The girl had then left the room, followed by Akeno. She's quite serious about this, noted Kakuzu. Of course she is, as this will affect her freedom, commented Amy. Kiba gave her a nod, then spoke, we can't even waste a moment. After a few minutes, Rias came in the room. I've contacted Sona about our leave. We will depart tomorrow, she spoke. So, even Shitori is a devil, huh? Thought Kakuzu. President, can't we leave today? He asked in all seriously. It would be best if everyone timed some rest, as our training location is a bit far from here. Rias explained her reasoning, to which Kakuzu nodded, and then went out of the room, probably to pack his stuff, or to complete a pact. Base of a mountain. The next day, Rias had transported the peerage to the base of a mountain, which thankfully had proper stairs. President, why are we here? Asked Kakuzu, who was carrying a large bag, filled with Rias, Akeno, and Amy's supplies. A villa that my family owns is present at the top of the mountain. Explained Rias, and the reason you're carrying all of that is because your sacred gear requires your body to be able to withstand stress, she added. The boy nodded and started walking, in a short amount of time. Rias, Akeno and Koneko had almost reached the top, with Kakuzu, still near the back, cursing at his physically weak body, and because of the amount of load on him, with Amy and Kiba near him. Yudo-san, you may join the others. I have to discuss something with Hyodo-san, spoke the woman, to which the knight nodded, and then left for the villa. As soon as he was out of sight, Kakuzu spoke, so, what did you want to ask me, Kasagi-san? Asked Kakuzu, to which the teacher, boldly spoke. Who are you really? Surprising the miser. Oh, and what do you mean by that? He asked, a hint of curiosity in his tone. The woman bluntly spoke, you recognize that Jashinist at the church, even though it's not an actual religion. Hearing this, Kakuzu concluded his suspicions about the woman. You were a member of the Akatsuki. He spoke, and the woman nodded rather grimly. It's been a long time since we met, Kakuzu. She spoke, her voice monotone. You're Conan. The miser concluded with furrowed brows. He knew that it couldn't be Deidara or Sasori, as they would always babble about art. It wasn't Kisame, as he would gladly battle almost any opponent that he thought was strong. Itachi and Pain were out, as they probably had little to no interest in art, or being slaves. The woman nodded, then spoke, I'm guessing that freed was Hidan. Receiving a nod from the miser. So, I'm also guessing that you have a strategy or two for Riser, she continued. The miser smirked, then spoke, well, I could probably paralyze him, and then break his neck, though I'm not sure that it would be acceptable in Devil Society. Making the female hum. Let me guess, you won't do that in favor of the prize money, if there is any. She spoke, rolling her eyes. To be honest, I never thought that you'd be this cheerful, when we first met in your house. Spoke the miser. The woman shrugged, then spoke, maybe it's because I actually have parents in this world, a family even. Ending it with a smile. So, how was life for you? She asked. I've found myself a pretty good supplier, and that's about every notable thing. Answered the boy. The woman merely let out a sigh, and spoke, you noticed that Riser had a family member in his peerage, maybe we can hold her hostage, and force him to give up. That could work. Was all the miser spoke, as he saw the peerage present at the top. Top of the mountain, Kakuzu, along with Conan, had reached the top, with the former mildly exhausted. It seems all of us have arrived. Spoke Rias. Kakuzu nodded, but then his sights were settled on the villa, rather the mansion in front of him. His respect for the Gremory clan suddenly increased. Issei, thanks for carrying our stuff. You can put it down, it's time for us to change. She spoke briskly. After her announcement, each peerage member took some clothes, and went to certain rooms to change. Kakuzu had changed into a gray and white sports outfit with Kiba wearing a similar one. Rias had worn a red-themed one. Koneko was wearing a simple white shirt, with gym shorts, along with knee-high black stockings. Akeno had worn a traditional Japanese Miko outfit, and the only bishop of the group had worn a simple red shirt, along with deep blue trousers. Okay, everyone, it's time for our training to begin, announced Rias. Issei, you're going to work on training your reflexes, with Kiba. Amy will work on her magic, courtesy of Akeno. Also, you're also going to need to strengthen your body, she continued. The members of the peerage nodded, and then it split up to do different tasks. Kakuzu, Kiba and Koneko went to a small clearing besides the mansion. The others went to a clearing behind the mansion. With Kakuzu, Kiba and Koneko. Signaling Kakuzu, Kiba called him to the actual clearing, and Koneko looked at them with mild interest. Issei-san, catch. Spoke the knight as he created a wooden sword and threw it at the former shinobi, and made on for himself. The boy caught the blade, and after a few test swings, spoke, let's begin. As soon as the words left his mouth, the two males charged at each other. Kiba allowed Kakuzu the first hit, which, in Kakuzu's mind, was a simple mistake. The miser slashed at the blonde horizontally, but it was blocked. However, the miser didn't give him a moment, and continued with relentless attacks, all of which were either blocked, parried, or didn't hit their intended target. The miser gritted his teeth, and threw miniature paralysis spells at the blonde, that went unnoticed. Kakuzu then started targeting the more vital areas, such as the blonde's neck. After a few minutes, Kiba was easily slowing down. At this point, Koneko had narrowed her eyes and was staring intently. The match ended when Kakuzu successfully hit the other male's neck. I surrender, announced the knight, and Kakuzu retracted the sword. But you used magic, he continued, when he noticed that his body was seizing up a bit. Not much of a problem, but it was distracting. You never said that magic wasn't allowed, spoke the miser. The blonde let out a short laugh. It seems that I underestimated you, Issei-san. The spar won't be so easy the next time. He spoke, his voice honest. That's true, however, you also made another large mistake, spoke the miser. Seeing Kiba's confused glance, and Kaneko's curious face, he continued, When you face an opponent, go at him with the intent to kill, otherwise, the chance of you losing will be much higher. His voice full of truth. Before Kiba, or Koneko could say anything, he continued, of course it's your choice to kill them or not. Fine, then, but Issei-san, our next spar would be much difficult for you, spoke Kiba. Senpai, battle me, spoke Koneko, as she walked forward, her gaze neutral. No magic, spoke the quiet girl, as she went into an offensive stance. Kakuzu went into a stance himself, and the two allowed Kiba to step back. As soon as the blonde was out of harm's way, Koneko sped forward, her speed much slower than that of Kiba's, and pulled back her small fist. Kakuzu prepared himself, and attempted to guard his chest. The punch was blocked, but Koneko seemed to have expected this, and swept one of her legs under Kakuzu's. In an attempt to avoid it, the boy jumped up. Seeing this, Koneko grabbed one of the boy's legs and attempted to throw him, but before she could do as such, the boy kicked her face, momentarily blinding her. The girl winced slightly, and let go. The boy then found himself thrown head first into a tree. You lose, Issei-senpai, spoke the girl. She was about to check on the boy, but stopped when she heard a groan. You really pack a punch. Koneko-san, spoke the miser as he sat up, rubbing his head. The only way to get past you would be to use magic, or having superior speed, he summarized. Thank you, I'll keep that in mind, spoke the girl. With Conan, Rias and Akeno. Akeno had started training Amy, and to the surprise of Rias, the woman had actually learnt so much in little time. How did you manage to master these spells in only a few days? Asked the king, aware that she had trained with Akeno, almost immediately after the church incident. I guess I just have the talent for magic, that's all, she answered with a smile. Era, Buckow's right. Have you been training on your own? Spoke the queen, receiving a nod from the woman. Her magic potential was extraordinary, though it would require some training if they were to match Riser's peerage. Unbeknownst to them, they weren't the only ones training. Another chapter. I hope you've enjoyed this, not much to say here are the reviews. Addis, PM. The reason for this is because Kakuzu has Issei's body, not his own. Wokaiser Drake, thank you, also, that remains to be seen. Deveth. I'll try to take care of these problems, besides, I suggest that you first read every chapter before reviewing. Bye everyone. Chapter 11 Note. I don't own Naruto or High School DxD. Grammary Mountain Villa. Kakuzu had just trained with Kiba and Koneko, and was currently walking to Rias, Akeno and Conan. The only reason for him to train with them was probably related to the pawn's ability to promote. As soon as he reached the two ladies of Kuoh Academy and the teacher, he noticed that the former Kunoichi was panting and, judging from the amount of destroyed forest near them, she probably used up a fair bit of her magic. I am here, President, spoke the miser neutrally, alerting them of his presence. Oh, you're just on time, Issei, spoke Rias. Akeno told me about training you, and she also told me about your techniques. I must say, I'm really impressed, she continued with a smile. Offering a short thank you, Kakuzu asked, so, what am I going to do? He looked over to Akeno, and she was pointing towards a pretty big boulder. It didn't help the fact that she had a slightly sadistic smirk. Okay, Issei. Come over here and I'll tie this to your back, spoke Rias. The miser looked at the boulder with unease. At one point it would be difficult, but it would also strengthen his body, not to mention, he was scared of the redhead's power of destruction. Fine. He spoke, as he followed the girl's directions. He spent the next few hours running around the mountains, with a boulder strapped to his back. Fallen Angel Base. Training Area. Two men were currently sparring in the Fallen Angels training area, though it was apparent who was stronger. One of the men was Donasek, wearing his usual clothes, the other had short black hair, brown eyes, and was wearing a simple white shirt with black pants. I must say, you have gotten stronger, spoke the younger of the two, his voice neutral. Hey, I haven't even used my sacred gear yet, Tobio, spoke the fallen, neutrally. The younger just gave him a small smirk, and challenged him to use it. Very well. Nature's Wrath, activate. He spoke, as a deep purple glove with black spots appeared on his right hand. Seeing this, Tobio sped forward, and attempted to punch the fallen. However, a deep purple barrier enveloped his target, not that it would be a problem. The human simply hit the fallen, effortlessly breaking the barrier, and the man was shot a short distance away from the younger one. The moment he hit the ground, he vanished, and appeared behind Tobio, his fist covered in the same deep purple aura. He, however, stopped when he heard a clap. He looked over to see the Governor-General himself, and the nun from the church standing besides him, a neutral expression on her face. "Very well, Donasi-kun, it seems you're using it well. You've almost mastered its illusion techniques. Though, you do know that you're nowhere near Tobio-kun," he spoke. Donasi then looked to see that Tobio had seemingly vanished from his previous position, and was standing behind him, free to attack. The two men then settled their spar for a moment, and gave the Governor-General a bow. A small dog, with small blades coming out of its body, could also be seen laying next to Tobio, giving the fallen a confused glance. "What is the nun from the church doing here? I thought she was dead," spoke Donasi, looking over to the female. She had the same styled blonde hair from before, though she was now wearing a sleeveless black top, along with equally black form-fitting pants. She was also had detached black sleeves held by red strings. "She died. This is just an android made in her image," explained Azazel. Looking at his servant's blank stares, he continued, "I wanted to test that if I gave a machine a person's memories, it would imitate their personality, or at least try to imitate it, and as you can see, I failed." A disappointed expression on his face, an expression that instantly vanished. "So why don't you introduce yourself?" he spoke, looking over to the so-called android. "Greetings, fallen angel Donasi and human Tobio Ikus. I am Akabono version Alpha." She spoke, her voice monotone. Her eyes, however, showed a bit of an emotion he could not recognize. "According to Azazel-sama, I will be your training, sparring partner," she continued. Later that night, Gramarye Villa. It had been a few hours, and the peerage had trained quite a bit, though they knew that they still needed every second in order to defeat Rias. Kakuzu had just arrived at the villa, sweating from all of the exertion. As he entered, he heard his king asked him to come for dinner, to which he obliged. As soon as he reached the dining table, he saw the peerage was already seated, and were probably waiting for him. He sat, and then everyone started eating. As soon as the feast ended, Rias spoke. "I heard about your training from Koneko and Kiba. I'm impressed that you defeated Kiba, but lost to Koneko. Though I have a question." Gaining the miser's attention, this also brought Conan's attention, as she looked on with curiosity and mild amusement. Seeing that she had got her pawn's attention, she asked, "You told Kiba that you won because you were actually trying to kill him. Why?" Her expression serious. In an instant, the room grew tense. "It's just efficient, because when you want to kill something, or someone, you put almost all of your strength and ability into it. However, when we spar with our comrades, without killing intent, we'll just instinctively hold back against others who look like us," came the reply from the miser. Rias wanted to retort, but before she could say anything, Conan spoke. "He's right. After all, Rias won't be the worst opponent we'll fight. Some of them might even go for the kill. Surprising all that. We're present, except the miser, who just nodded. Everyone was at a loss for words. The two were correct. If they were to face a stray that was still humanoid, they would hold back even against Rias, who, no doubt, would do anything to win. Sighing, Rias spoke. "Fine, but no one would be hurting anyone else in the peerage, or else." Her voice full of conviction, her eyes glowing red for only an instant. Kakuzu mentally smirked. It would seem that they would actually have a chance against Rias. Midnight. Kakuzu tried to sleep, though he couldn't. Before he could try again, he was interrupted by the dragon, Diedrich. "Partner, there is something I need to ask you," came his usual deep voice. "What is it? Besides, couldn't you ask it in the morning?" asked the irked Kakuzu. "I'm afraid not, as you would probably forget it. I wanted to tell you that you can't slack off in your training," spoke the dragon, his voice serious. "What do you mean? As you know, I already have a plan against the Phoenix," spoke the miser, in return. "The Phoenix isn't what I'm talking about. I'm talking about my rival, the White One, Albion. A dragon that was able to rival me in strength, not to mention, our hosts have fought over countless times. I fear that my rival has already prepared his host, yet you are, unfortunately, a weakling," spoke the dragon. In an attempt to actually get some sleep, Kakuzu just gave it a, "Yes. I'll train." He then felt the mental link between himself and the dragon fade. How intriguing, thought the miser, as he yet again attempted to sleep, though he was interrupted yet again by his thirst. As the boy walked to the kitchen, he saw Rias Gremory, holding a mug, and currently wearing glasses. "Oh, still awake?" she asked. "Just came here for a glass of water. The dragon woke me up," the boy answered. "Oh well, great timing, let's chat for a bit," she spoke as she sat on a couch, with Kakuzu following her with his glass of water. In front of it he could see was a small table, with some papers scattered on it. "So what did you want to talk about?" asked the miser, interested. "It's about our opponent," she answered. "Someone with the powers of the phoenix itself." "Huh," spoke the miser, to which the girl nodded. "As you know, Riser is immortal. Any injury he gets, heals almost instantly. Not to mention, his experience in raiding games, 8 wins. And only 2 losses, which were on purpose. However, I believe we have a chance," spoke Rias. "Either defeat him with overwhelming power, or by crushing his spirit," she continued, to which Kakuzu replied. "We can also give him a choice he can't refuse." Rias looked at him with confusion. "Never mind. Though I wanted to ask you, why do you hate Riser, or rather reject his marriage proposal?" he asked, slightly surprising the girl. "It's because I'm a Gremory. No matter where I go, the name would follow me. I'm proud of it, yet everyone sees me as only a Gremory, not as who I am. That's the reason I choose to live in the human world, where everyone sees me as who I am. It is my dream, no my goal to marry someone who'd see me as Rias. The only reason I dislike Riser is because he only sees me as Gremories." "Rias, Issei, do you think that I'm being selfish?" she asked. "To be honest, yes," spoke the miser, surprising the girl. "Then again, you are a devil, so it would make sense for you to be selfish," he finished. Letting out a short, yet bitter laugh, she spoke, "I guess you're right. Thanks for listening to me, Issei," ending it with a smile. "I have a question," spoke the miser, gaining Rias' attention. "Will there be prize money involved?" he asked, causing the girl to face palm. She then spoke, "Probably. Oh well, good night, Issei." Underworld. Phoenix Mansion. A blonde man could currently be seen sitting down on his bed. "You know, Ubaluna, I almost feel bad for Rias having to battle us. Too bad she's going to be defeated," he spoke to a rather attractive woman with a laugh. The woman had purple hair and matching eyes, and was wearing a rather revealing outfit. "You're right, Riser-sama," though her pawn had an unnatural ferocity in his eyes whilst facing Mira. She spoke with a light frown. The man, Riser, was about to speak, however, he heard a knock on his door. "Come in," he spoke, and the door opened to reveal his weakest, yet formidable servant, Mira. "What is Mira? Is the new staff not good enough?" he asked, his voice with a small layer of concern. It's not that, Riser-sama, it's just that pawn." She slightly stuttered, something that she had only done when she had been afraid, in the beginning. Concerned, Riser spoke, "What about him?" "Don't worry, you'll defeat him in the game," putting the pawn in ease. "Riser-sama, it's just that, when I fought him, I felt some killing intent," she answered, surprising the phoenix. He then stood up, and pet the girl's head. "You'll defeat him, no doubt," once again putting her at ease. So I'm here once again with the other chapter, though I am a bit sorry for the late upload. Anyways, onto the reviews. Bankrupt Samurai. Actually no, Kakuzu has his own memories inserted into Issei. Not to mention, he still has Hyodo's memories, which is why he is able to get along with everyone. Not to mention, he gets paid. Though I will try to decrease my grammar mistakes. Oh, and if you're thinking that I've dropped Kakuzu's personality, you're kinda wrong. Due to Issei's memories, his personality is a little affected. Anyways, I hope you enjoyed. Goodbye for now. Chapter 12. Note. I don't own Naruto or High School DxD. Approximately 1 hour before raiding game. Occult Research Clubroom. The peerage had returned to the clubroom the past day, and as per Rias' request had rested that day, so that they would be fresh at the time of the game itself. To Kakuzu at least, felt like a waste of time, as he could have ran a pact, gained some wealth, and maybe even get a few potions from Miru. The peerage, minus Kakuzu and Konan, was tense at the challenge, though luckily, Akeno had prepared some tea that helped the peerage. Okay, everyone, we can do this. Rias assured everyone, even though it seemed that she was the most tense. Time passed slowly for the peerage, but in the end, the time for the rating game arrived. President, you have another bishop besides Kasagi-san, so why don't you use it? Asked the miser. The girl pursed her lips, then spoke, yes, however he won't be partaking in this match. A few minutes before rating game, in a flash of light, accompanied by a runic circle, Graphia appeared. A few minutes are left before the rating game. Is everyone prepared? She asked, to which the peerage nodded. Please remember that the great devil, Lucifer-sama himself will be overseeing the match, she continued. So, Oni-sama will be seeing us, huh? Rias muttered, to which Kakuzu's eyes widened. How strange, if her brother has such influence, then why doesn't he cancel his sister's marriage? Either he is a serious ruler, who cares more about his people than his family, or maybe he doesn't even care, he mused. Buckow's brother is none other than the Crimson Satan, the strongest devil, and Lucifer. Spoke Kiba. After a brief explanation on the four great Satans, Graphia asked for the peerage to stand on a runic circle that would transport them to the fighting area. Note this that you won't be able to exit the area until the battle is over. Good luck, she spoke. In a flash of light, they were transported. Rating game area. In a minute, the peerage was standing in the rating game area, that mysteriously looked like the clubroom itself. Of course, everyone underestimated me. Spoke Rias, in slight anger, to which Kakuzu raised his eyebrows. She should be glad that they have such an advantage. Greetings ladies and gentlemen. I am Graphia of the Gremory family, I will be refereeing this match. My master, Sears Lucifer will be observing this match. They heard Graphia's voice. Today's field is a replica of Kuoh Academy, that Rias-sama attends, she continued. He created an artificial world, such power, so many possibilities. Though the miser. Both parties have been transferred to their strongholds. Rias-sama's stronghold is at the Occult Research Club room. Riser-sama's stronghold is at the Student Council room. 2. Promote pawns, please move to the opponent's stronghold perimeter, she concluded. Okay. Everyone, take them, and place these in your ears. Spoke Rias, as she handed each peerage member a small device. These will allow us to communicate with each other on the field, she explained. After everyone did just that, she spoke once again, Kiba, put up the school map. She spoke, and Kiba did as so. We won't be positioning anyone at the forest, as Riser would easily see us. Our first job would be to defeat his pawns, so they don't promote into queens. Okay. Issei, you'll go with Koneko to the gymnasium. Riser has probably sent a few of his units there, in an attempt to control a key location. Koneko and Kakuzu nodded, understanding her reasoning. Amy, you will defend Kiba with your illusions, as he launches a frontal assault and sets down traps for our enemies. Kiba and Konan nodded this time. While Akeno will make a distraction, so that the more stronger members of his peerage don't attack any of you. Good luck, she spoke. Hey, she's actually not that bad for a beginner, thought Kakuzu as he readied himself. Kuoh Academy replica. Gymnasium. Kakuzu and Koneko made their way towards the gymnasium, and upon entering, they could already hear sounds, mainly footsteps. Don't make them retire. Just bind them. Buckwo's orders. Spoke Koneko, and Kakuzu sighed in annoyance, but nodded nonetheless. He would follow the orders, as his master had the power to easily turn him into dust. Can you make a distraction? If so, then I'll paralyze them, he asked, to which the girl nodded. As the duo approached their unsuspecting foes, they saw who they were. They were the twins that Riser had kissed 10 days ago, that Mira girl who had fought Kakuzu, and another girl with black hair, styled into 2 buns, who was wearing a navy blue kippah with golden accents. The 3 were facing the duo's general direction, even though they didn't know where they were. Kakuzu nodded towards Koneko, who nodded in return. The miser then disappeared into then few shadows. As Koneko moved forward, she heard a noise. Servant of Gremory, I know you're there, spoke the black-haired girl. Koneko went into an offensive stance. Come at me, Rook. She spoke, and so the opponent spoke. Okay. Mira, back me up. Eel and Nell, stay on guard, as she ran towards the physically smaller rook. Koneko dodged most of the strikes and purposely led them away from the chainsaw-wielding girls. As soon as the three were far enough, Kakuzu unleashed a rather weak paralysis spells at the twins' legs, then sped forward. The two noticed the boy a little too late, and were hit by a stronger paralysis spell, due to which, they fell on the ground, conscious. The boy then put a tape over their mouths, so that they wouldn't warn their comrades. He then sped towards the servants attacking Koneko, but upon reaching, he saw that the Mira and the other rook had been bound by rope, and had tape on their mouths. "We're leaving," spoke the small girl, to which Kakuzu nodded. As soon as the two exited the building, it was struck by a large bolt of lightning, and it was effortlessly destroyed. Riser Phoenix Sama's peerage is 1 rook and 3 pawns weaker. Everyone heard Graphia's voice. Kakuzu relaxed ever so slightly, then spoke to Akeno, via the device. "Akeno, I'm leaving Koneko in your care. I'm going alone." Slightly surprising the two, however, he received a yes from the queen. It was time for his own plan to come to fruition, with Kiba and Konan. "Kiba, you can attack now," spoke the reincarnated Kunoichi, as she covered the knight and his swords with an illusion. The two then waited as Riser's units came into view. On the bishop's signal, the knight sped forward, and attacked 2 Kaggle twins with contrasting hair colors. Their retirement attracted more pawns, which were also swiftly defeated. Riser Phoenix Sama's peerage is 5 pawns weaker. The two heard Graphia's voice. "Kiba, give me 2 kunai for my own protection," the bishop almost demanded, to which the knight smiled, and handed the woman what she asked for. "I suggest you put some of your own magic in these, otherwise they will disappear when I retire," he spoke. "It all seems to going well," he continued, though as soon as he spoke, 3 of Riser's servants appeared. One of them wore an armor equipped with what seemed to be a dagger and a sword, having brown hair. Another one had lighter brown hair with red highlights, and was wearing a rather revealing outfit, and a mask. The last one was wearing a rather colorful kimono. "Kiba, handle the knight, I'll handle the rest," spoke Konan, to which the knight nodded, and made his way a little farther from the teacher, the opposing knight doing the same. "Oh, so you're the bishop of the Gremory, huh?" asked the one wearing a mask, with Konan nodding. "Greetings. Thought isn't it strange that you're wielding 2 melee weapons?" asked the shorter of the two, her voice holding respect. "Are we going to fight? Or just talk?" asked Konan, slightly taunting the two. "Very well, let's begin," spoke the younger one. In a flash, the woman vanished from view, and the opposing were put on edge. They then saw, as they were enveloped with a deep fog, that they could tell was fake. The one wearing a mask gasped when she saw her master himself appear in the fog, and then she, subconsciously, started walking towards him. She then gasped once again, when she felt numerous cuts on her body, and after a sharp pain at the back of her neck, she fell to the ground, unconscious. The other quickly set up an anti-illusion spell, and so the fog disappeared. She then saw her opponent run at her in a zigzag fashion. Sighing slightly, the girl performed a horizontal fire spell to attack the woman. The fire hit its target, but the target itself disappeared. What happened? The girl asked herself, but fell unconscious as soon as something hit her neck. Riser Phoenix Sama's peerage is 1 rook, 1 bishop, and 1 knight weaker. Rias Gremory Sama's peerage is 1 rook, and 1 knight weaker. Graphia's voice came. It seemed as if Koneko and Kiba were down with Riser's other bishop and knight. "Oh, it seems Onisama has lost everyone except me, you and Yubaluna," spoke a young girl with long blonde hair tied into twintails with drill-shaped curls. She was currently talking with an older girl who had black hair with a dark blue tint, styled into 5 ponytails, currently wielding a Zweihander. Before the older one could speak, the two heard some sort of noise. "Don't worry, Revel Sama, I'll see what it is," spoke the knight, as she went into a forest nearby. A few minutes later, Graphia gave an announcement. Riser Phoenix Sama's peerage is 1 knight weaker. Revel's eyes widened, and she went into a defensive stance, though before she could make a move, she felt her legs seize up. "What the?" She spoke out in panic, but then felt her entire body go numb. "You're coming with me." She heard a masculinization voice, and then felt a hand hold her by the back of her neck, and she was led somewhere, unwillingly, with the rest of Gremory and Phoenix peerage members. Rias Gremory Sama's peerage is one queen weaker, Graphia announced, and Rias almost lost all hope. Can't you see, Rias? You've lost. Though I will admit that your peerage performed greater than expected. Give up, spoke Riser, his voice arrogant, as he stood alongside his queen. His words had hit Rias hard, and she had lost all hope in winning, but then they all heard a shout. Riser Phoenix, spoke a voice similar to Issei's. Rias looked over in hope, Riser and his queen in mild annoyance, though Riser froze when he saw what the pawn was holding. His dear sister. Give up, or else, spoke the miser, as he showed the man a young blonde girl. Riser's eyes narrowed, but then he spoke. What do you plan to do with her? Rather angrily. I plan to test her regenerative powers, that's all, came the answer, as sparks appeared on the pawn's free arm, taking the form of a blade. Riser's eyes widened, and he did what any brother would do for a younger sibling. I forfeit. He spoke, and everyone disappeared from the area. So everything, I'm back. The only reason for the minor delay was because of internet disconnection at my home. In fact, this is being updated at my cousin's house. Here are the reviews. Grim24 Actually, you're wrong. The main character has his personality, memories, and intelligence. After all, abilities don't define a character, besides he might recreate them. The Sixth Day of Division. He's mainly basing her off of Itachi, Sweet Tooth, personality, as well as Uchiha's summoning animals animal. Oh, and sorry about the dialogue. No internet meant that I just read your review. Lord Itachi 123 I rather not, it's unhealthy. So I hope you enjoyed, and bye. Chapter 13 Note. I don't own Naruto or High School DxD. Medical room. As soon as the rating game was finished, Kakuzu found himself standing in a hospital-esque room, next to a bed. He looked around and saw the retired members of the peerage laying on beds, wearing bandages. As he decided on what to do, his eyes fell upon a rather angry Rias Gremory. The girl then began walking towards him. However, before he could usher out a greeting, the girl slapped him across his cheek, slightly surprising the boy. What were you thinking? She asked, her eyes narrowed. An effective way for us to win, came the miser's immediate response. The girl sighed. Effective or not, it was stupid, she spoke. Ho, and what do you mean by that? Asked the miser, annoyed. He then saw the amount of emotion in the girl's eyes, which greatly confused him. You could have gotten hurt. You might have even died. The girl almost miser's eyes widened. You were worried about me? He spoke, his statement coming out as a question. Yes, came the answer, her voice soft. When I saw who you had taken hostage, I was scared that Riser might hurt you, or, she trailed off, her expression sad. The miser, for better or worse, was surprised. He felt annoyed, and also rather nice. Why? He asked, so that she could somehow quell his confusion. Why was I worried? She spoke. You are my servant, rather, you are a part of my family. I can't even think of losing you. She spoke, wiping away the very few tears that flowed out. As soon as the others are back to normal, tell them that I have an announcement to make. You can rest until then. She spoke as she left the room, leaving Kakuzu alone, or so it would seem. Well, this is a surprise. You seem to have captured her heart, spoke Conan, smirking at the miser. It seems that her new life changed her, or perhaps she was always like this, considering that she wasn't one to talk at meetings. Giving the kunoichi an irritated glare, the boy spoke. It probably has something to do with Hyodo, that or it has something to do with my healthy obsession. He spoke, denying himself liking the brat. The woman let out a laugh, and was about to go to a bed to rest, when she heard the miser call out for her. What is it? She asked in her usual monotone voice. I just wanted to ask you what happened after I died, came the answer. That didn't surprise her no a bit. I was expecting that. She spoke. Do you remember that Toby kid? She continued. The new recruit? Asked the miser, slightly remembering the idiot who had replaced Sasori, and the one who had died because of Deidara. The woman nodded, then spoke. The leader destroyed Konohagakure, and fought Uzumaki Naruto. She spoke, surprising the miser. He then gave away his life, and used his powers to bring back everyone who died. Why, and what happened to you? Asked the miser, eyes narrowed. I will not tell you why he sacrificed himself, however, I was killed by Uchiha Madara. She spoke, greatly confusing the boy. Are you an idiot? Because Madara died while fighting the first Hokage. Hell, even if he was alive, I'm pretty sure that there isn't a technique that reduces age. He spoke, though, to kill Conan. The brat was a formidable person, not to mention, he'd probably had a bounty on his head. Deciding to change the subject, as how would she know something after her death? He asked, what happened to the others? Receiving a simple answer. Kiba got cocky and challenged a knight one-on-one, the others retired due to Riser's queen. And Kakuzu nodded, as he looked over to the peerage members. Kiba was mainly bandaged at his gut. The two remaining had similar bandages covering different parts of their body. What was the technique you were about to use on the girl? Asked Conan, receiving an answer. Rakery, I guess. Hakate used one on me and destroyed one of my hurts. Oh, what about your illusions? He asked. Her sacred gear wouldn't be all that useful, considering that almost everyone could make one, easily, on par with Itachi's. Also, I'm pretty sure that I can inflict physical injuries on a person within the illusion. She answered, causing the miser slight uneasiness. That was a very dangerous combination. For all he knew, this all could be an illusion, though it was unlikely. He then simply decided to rest. Medical room. 1 hour later, Rias came in the room, and saw that every one of her cute servants was seemingly okay. Most were just talking to one another, with the exception of Kakuzu, who was counting money, and Koneko, who was currently enjoying her sweets. It's good to see that everyone is okay, she spoke out, capturing everyone's attention. Kasagi-sensei told us how we won, Issei-san. I must say, I didn't expect that from you. Spoke Kiba, receiving nods for Akeno, as well as Koneko. We won, and that's the end of it. Even I don't like how we won. Spoke Rias, her voice a little tired. Before anyone could say something, Rias spoke once again. As all of probably know, my parents, and everyone else didn't expect me to win, considering that our area was that of Kuoh. Either way, if Riser was to win, then, I'd be married this night. Thanks to all of you, that won't happen, and I won't take it against my will. She thanked everyone with a smile. That said, they had already invited a large number of high-class devils for the wedding, which has now turned into a party for us to enjoy, she continued. Can all of you please get ready by a few hours? She asked, and everyone answered with a solid, yes, with the exception of Kakuzu, who reluctantly agreed. Occult Research Club Room. The peerage decided to meet up at the clubroom. Luckily, for Kakuzu, he had enough time to complete a few pacts, and earn some money. The peerage was wearing clothes befitting that of nobles. The males had worn tuxedos, the females had worn rather form-fitting dresses. Is everyone ready? Asked Rias, receiving a number of nods from the peerage. The girl then held up some sort of summoning paper, and passed a little of her magic into her. In a flash of red, the members were gone. Gremory Mansion. The group appeared in front of a large mansion, lit up with numerous lights, that showed how big it was. Kakuzu was at a loss of words, as well as Conan, upon looking at it. The others gave them amused glances, considering that they had been here before, not to mention, their own reactions weren't like theirs. I knew it was something else. The miser breathed out, confusing the peerage members, and resulted in Conan giving him a deadpan glance. Issei, if you're wondering, all of this belongs to Rias. Spoke Akeno, an amused smirk on her face, calling her king by her name, considering that they weren't in the human world anymore. It was either that, or Rias had allowed it, thought the former Kunoichi. Akeno's comment had a large affect on Kakuzu, and, as before, his respect for the Gremory family grew tremendously. Everyone, let's go in. People are probably waiting for us, spoke Rias, and her servants followed her, through the mansion to the main hall, although Kakuzu would stop at certain places, looking at expensive objects. As they arrived in the main hall, the place was filled with a large number of devils, most of whom were reincarnated ones. Greetings, Rias. Spoke a feminine voice. The peerage looked over to see a bespectacled young woman, who was wearing a navy blue dress, Sona Shitori, for those who only knew her from the human world, Citri for others. She was accompanied by another young woman, wearing glasses, and a similar dress, Tsubaki Shinra. Congratulations on defeating Riser. I must say, that was a hard challenge, though you overcame it, concluded the Sea-Tree heiress. Before Sona could ask her friend something, the group heard something akin to a war cry. Miru-tan. Came the masculine voice, alerting the miser, and the kunoichi. Kakuzu was about to ask, however, before he could do so, a red blur tackled Rias in a hug, and it seemed to be crying. Oh, my dear sister. I was so worried about your rating game, that I almost took advantage of my power. I'm so glad that you won. The man nearly shouted, whilst crying a bit. The miser and the teacher were at a loss for words as they viewed the male fuss over the embarrassed Rias. Kakuzu was about to question once again, though he saw Graphia somehow appear near the man, a dark expression on her face. Sears-sama, stop embarrassing yourself in public, she spoke, as she pulled on the man's cheek. Said man let out a small shout of pain, and then spoke, oh, Graphia, please let go, I won't do it again, I promise. After which the woman let go of the man's cheek. Sears-X Lucifer, not a good first impression, thought Kakuzu. Oh, so these are your new servants, huh? The man asked his embarrassed sister, as he pointed towards Kakuzu and Conan, receiving a nod. Greetings, my name is Sears-X Lucifer, good to meet you. He spoke kindly, receiving 2 bows. Looking at the miser, he continued, so you are Hayudu Issei-kun, and you must be Kasagi Amy-kun. Receiving 2 nods. The man then looked over to Kakuzu, and he shook his hand, you saved my sister from something she didn't like, by keeping another devil hostage, he spoke, slightly worrying Rias. Though I am impressed by your bravery, tell me, did you know that Riser-kun wasn't going to attack you? He asked, receiving an answer. Being honest. Nope. I just figured that he wouldn't attack considering that I could easily end the girl's life. Which caused Sears-X to put his hand on the boy's shoulder. It was a sinful idea, though it doesn't matter much, considering we are creatures of sin. He spoke with a smile. The rest of the party went on with only a notably interesting occurrence. Kakuzu getting drunk, and almost stealing priceless artifacts. Outside a rather small settlement, Xenovia. Why are we here? Asked a young woman, who was wearing a pure white cape that hid her figure. She also had chestnut-colored hair tied in twin tails. Reports of devils tormenting humans. We need to rid this place of those creatures. Kill all you find. Spoke her partner, who was in a similar attire, but had shorter blue hair. Hearing her partner's words, she gave a huff, then walked into the settlement, a sword appearing in her hand. Her partner soon followed. Unbeknownst to both of them, they were being watched by a pair of red eyes. Another chapter written. I hope all of you who read this enjoyed it. Not much happened this chapter, onto the reviews. SennyB98 thank you. Wokaiser Drake. Damn indeed. Kaijin 36 probably. Rex 123 thanks, and I don't plan on giving Kakuzu, or anyone their abilities back, however they would be able to recreate them. Bye. Chapter 14 note. I don't own Naruto or High School DxD. Outside a small settlement, blood-red eyes stared at the form of the church agents as they walked into the stray-infested settlement. She knew her prey was in the settlement, due to a variety of reports, both human and demonic. She just had to bide her time, and wait for the perfect opportunity, and hope that she could get to her prey without any complications. Inside the settlement. Irina, we will split up. Kill every devil you come across. Xenovia told her partner, Irina, who gave her a slightly reluctant nod, and went on her way. Not wasting much time, the blue-haired girl started walking towards the other side of the settlement, prepared. It had only taken her a few minutes to hear a shrill laugh. Coo coo coo, such a cute girl, I wonder how you taste, came a voice from behind her. The girl turned around, and came face to face with a seemingly ordinary man, a crazed expression on his face. The girl didn't bat an eye, and pulled out a Zweihander, wrapped in bandages, with impressive strength. She pointed the blade towards the man, and spoke. It is time for you, and your friends to face divvy punishment. The man, in response laughed. You think you can take us on? Don't make me laugh, he spoke, taunting the girl. In an instant, she was surrounded by grotesque creatures, stray devils. The girl's expression was one of stoicism, and she just impaled her blade into the ground. It seemed foolish, however, the moment the strays got close, and bright explosion covered her, that was accompanied by shrieks of pain. As soon as the light receded, the girl was standing still at the center of the crater, unscathed. The stray's eyes widened, and he decided to change into a simply demonic form. Xenovia just stood there, and stared at the grotesque creature. The devil then lunged at the girl, only for her to position her sword in front of her. Due to its momentum, the devil couldn't stop, and was impaled through the chest. With a horrifying scream of agony, it simply blew up. Excalibur destruction had done its job, for now. The girl was about to walk towards her partner, however, she felt a strong demonic aura come from an undamaged building. This one probably attracted the others, she thought, as she walked in the building, prepared. Inside the building, a beautiful, young woman with a rather voluptuous figure was currently sprawled out on a bed. The woman had black hairs that split into twin bangs. She was also wearing a set of clothes that felt like they could come off pretty easily. A few days earlier, her boss, Ophis, had given her a few days to rest, since she had politely requested, begged, much rather, for them. She herself was surprised at this, but after her boss explained that she would get her potential allies, and such, it all came together. So far, she had met a girl who liked to use blessed, or cursed modern human weapons, and had come across a fallen who wanted war. Apparently, he would give his answer after a few weeks. The woman yawned as she stretched, and then flooded most of her systems with chakra, expanding her senses. Ah, looks like I attracted a few strays, NYA, she spoke as she felt multiple magic signatures around her. Her eyes widened when she felt two extremely powerful holy objects enter the settlement, and kill the strays. She then felt one of them come near the building she was in. Just great, she told herself, and got up. As soon as she got up, however, she saw the front of the building get destroyed in an instant. She looked forward, and saw a blue-haired girl wearing a white robe, some type of holy Zweihander on her back. The church agent sped forward in an instant, with the Nekosho doing the same. However, as soon as they were mere inches apart, the Nekosho vanished. Seemingly expecting this, the church agent pushed her sword into the ground, and by using it as leverage, spun around and kicked in her general direction. The kick connected, and the Nekosho was thrown out of the building. How did she know that was an illusion? It makes no sense, thought the woman. The church agent exited the building and was slowly making her way towards the Nekosho. Guess I'll just use it, she thought, as she let Senjutsu enter her body. The church agent had stopped, and was observing her opponent, as a pair of cat ears appeared on her head, and two tails from her abdomen. It's time to finish this, NYA, she spoke as she sped forward. The church agent gasped, as she felt the devil's fist sink into her stomach. However, she regained balance with the help of her sword. Smirking at her foe, the Nekosho let out another punch, one that was supplied with more chakra. However, as soon as the punch connected, she felt like kicking herself. The church agent didn't evade her attack, rather, she saved herself with her blade. The Nekosho let out a yell of pain, as she felt immense pain on her arm. She didn't have time to think as the church agent, using her sword, threw her at a nearby wall, her senjutsu saving her body from critical injuries. Panting, Kuroka found herself leaning on a wall helpless. She'd be lucky if she escaped, even more so if her arm could be fixed. Why did I punch a holy sword? She asked herself, and saw her foe approaching. Hey, guess this is it, huh? Me dying because of my own stupidity. Forgive me, Sharon, were her thoughts as she looked at the church agent in the eye. She'd refused to be submissive towards death. The church agent raised her sword, and impaled it, mere inches away from the stray's skull. What the, thought Kuroka, as her mind went blank. She could clearly the other girl's face, as she leaned near to her own. When the two were just a few centimeters apart, the church agent pulled back her sword in her face, and started walking towards the opposite direction. At this point, Kuroka felt confused, and a little insulted as she felt that the other had taken pity on her. Oh, why did you let me live? She asked, and the church agent stopped, and looked back at her, a pained expression on her face. Your eyes. They're the same as mine, perhaps in another life. It's best that you flee, otherwise my partner may kill you. She spoke, her voice strained. She then resumed her walk. Instead of asking any further, Kuroka muttered out a small thank you, and teleported away. Xenovia, I'm here. Irina called her partner, who just seemed quieter than usual. "What's the matter?" she asked, getting a shake of her head. "Irina, it is time for us to leave. The sooner we get to Kuoh, the better," answered the blue-haired girl, receiving a nod. As they were making their way out the village, Xenovia tensed up for a moment, and threw Irina away from her. "Hey! What's the matter?" Irina yelled out in surprise and anger, but stopped talking when she saw a small shuriken embedded into the place her head had been a second ago. Irina kindly stopped talking and thanked her partner. "So, you've still got the reflexes, huh?" they heard a calm voice. Irina saw Xenovia tense up again, as if expecting a challenge. "Who are you?" asked said girl, as she reached for her sword, staring in the general direction of the voice. In front of them, from the shadows, came a feminine figure. She had pale skin, blood-red eyes, and medium-length blonde hair. She was wearing a scarf, and rather modern clothes, nothing out of the ordinary. "My name is not important. I saw you kill the strays. I must say, I'm impressed." She spoke in a matter-of-fact tone, a bored expression on her face. "Though, I must ask, why did you let her escape?" "Kisame?" she asked Xenovia, greatly confusing Irina, and making the blue-haired girl widen her eyes. "Irina, leave this place. I'll meet up with you later," spoke Xenovia. Irina was about to retort and ask, however the sheer authority in her partner's voice made her decide otherwise. "Fine. You better come," she spoke, as she left the immediate vicinity, stopping near the exit. She'd check on her partner if necessary. With Xenovia, and the girl. "Who are you? And how do you know that name?" asked Xenovia, a dark expression covering her face. "As I told you before, that is not important right now. Nevertheless, tell me, why did you let the girl go? She would have been a nice addition to my collection," spoke the red-eyed girl, smirking as she reached for her gun. In just a moment, Xenovia impaled her sword in the ground, protecting her from the other's bullets. Cursed or not, they would have hurt as she was human. As soon as the flurry of bullets receded, she sped forward, intent on killing, or at least damaging her for. As though expecting this, the pale girl jumped backwards, evading the holy sword. In order to combat this, Xenovia stabbed it in the ground again. It however created a type of holy explosion, covering herself, as well as the other girl. As the smoke cleared, burns could be seen on the pale girl's skin. This would be a grueling fight, she knew it. Xenovia saw the other girl give her a smile, putting her slightly on edge. She then looked down at the ground, only to see some sort of grenade. She jumped back, only for said grenades to explode in smoke. As smoke covered the field, Xenovia prepared herself. She felt something come at her. Excalibur would be slow to block the hit, so after impaling the ground with Excalibur again, she took out a blessed ninjutsu, in order to counter the other's machete. The moment the blades connected, the pale girl disappeared, only to attack from another direction. The pattern went on for a few minutes, but stopped as soon as Xenovia placed some cuts on the other girl. Since her opponent was a devil, it did a rather hefty amount of damage, though she did manage to score a few hits of her own, equally as damaging. In an attempt to finish the battle, Xenovia pushed some of her holy energy into her sword, evaded her opponent's slash, and stabbed the other in the gut. As soon as the smoke died out, the other girl could be seen sitting on the ground, taking care of her rather fatal injury, with Xenovia standing next to her sword. "Akasuna no Sasori. I win. You underestimated me," spoke the church agent, as she made her way towards her partner, Excalibur back on her back. "Guess I was wrong," spoke Sasori, catching Xenovia's attention. "You're not Kisame, considering that he was rather brutal in battle, and probably wouldn't let anyone escape. Since you have a bit of his fighting style, you must be Uchiha Itachi," she concluded. "Yes. However, if you come in my path again, I will kill you," spoke the revealed Itachi, receiving a "likewise" from the other, who disappeared into the shadows. Itachi was starting to miss his Sharingan, as it would be rather troublesome to explain everything to Irina. Hopefully there would be fellow members at Kuoh, a place they would reach in a week at most. N. Another chapter, based upon Itachi and Sasori. Hopefully this chapter was good and all of you enjoyed it. Here are the reviews. Kharaki Takan. Thank you for both of your reviews, and don't worry about the names. Neo-erotically offer. I only do that as a form of caution, as I'm afraid that the text will get all messy. However, I will try to make sure that you'll be able to easily tell who is speaking. Wokaiser Drake. You were close, so yeah, bye. Chapter 15. Note. I don't own Naruto or High School DxD. Underworld. Fallen Angel Base. The Governor-General of the Fallen Angels was currently watching his servant, Donasek, sparring with his creation, Akebono, through a camera from his lab. I must say, Azazel, your creation is truly better than I expected, spoke a gruff-looking man with black hair. Before Azazel could ask his friend what he meant, another male who had white hair, and was also watching, decided to speak. It truly is. Were you planning on building yourself a harem that could last forever before you decided to add weapons? He asked, his tone holding amusement. This caused the general to deflate in mock sadness. First of all, do both of you actually think that I'm that bad? He asked, receiving a nod from both of his friends, which he ignored. Second of all, creating her cost us a hefty amount of resources, he spoke sheepishly. So, have you tested out anything other than combat? Asked the white-haired male, receiving a solid answer, nope. Looking at deadpan looks given to him by his friends, he decided to just do what they asked. Akebono, come to my lab, now. Azazel spoke through a mic, calling his creation. After a few minutes, the door to the lab opened, revealing the android. Greetings Azazel-sama, Fallen Angel Shemazai-sama. And Fallen Angel Barakil-sama, it spoke, imitating a bow. Akebono, I called you here to properly test your more technical skills, spoke Azazel, receiving a nod from the android. It walked near the computer, and inserted one of its fingers in one of the machine's docks. What would you like to find? It asked, as its eyes glowed a cool blue. What can you find about Kokebil? Asked Shemazai, considering that he hadn't seen him in a few weeks. That was strange. Kokebil, species. Fallen angel, rank. 10 wings, last sighted near the town of Kuoh, Japan, in the human realm. Spoke the android, surprising the three fallen. What else can you find? Asked Barakil, slightly put on edge. The android nodded, then after a few seconds, spoke, encountered firewall, breach? She asked, receiving a yes from the Governor-General. Encountered the following, contact list, photo album, and archives, it spoke. Open contact list. Ordered Azazel, which the machine did. Fallen Angel Kokebil's last contact was with human Valpyr Galilei. Conversation. Kokebil. Have you prepared your stray? Valpyr Galilei. Yes, I have. You still remember what we planned? Kokebil. Do not worry. Your stray will get the Excalibur, and I will start a war. We will meet when you have located the fragments. Conversation, terminated. Concluded Akebono. I knew his bloodlust was too much. Akebono, are there any important people who live in Kuoh? Asked Azazel, a serious look on his face. He knew about the Gremory heiress, from Donazek's and the others' reports, but he wanted to know if there were more, and also to find out what his creation would do. Here is a list of people who live in Kuoh. Spoke Akebono, Rias Gremory, Sona Citri, and Akeno Himejima, it concluded. Looking at his friend's serious expressions, Azazel spoke. Akebono, your first mission is to warn the 2 devil heiresses about Kokebil, and remember to not reveal what you are. The android merely nodded, then went away to complete its rather easy mission. Occult Research Club Room. It had been a day since the raiding game party, and currently, Rias decided to introduce her friend, Sona, as well as her peerage to her new servants. President, how long will we have to wait for? Asked Kakuzu, growing impatient, considering that he could probably complete a pact. Rias was about to say something, but was interrupted by a knock on the door. She's here. I hope this goes smoothly, thought Rias. Come in. She spoke, and the door opened to reveal the student council president, Sona Citri, accompanied by her vice president, Tsubaki Shinra, and a young man with short blonde hair, wearing the Kuoh Academy boys' school uniform, Genshiru Saji. Greetings Rias, I was meaning to introduce my new pawn to you and your peerage, considering that I already saw yours. Sona spoke, in a strict business-like manner. As soon as Rias gave a reply, Saji spoke up, so you're a devil as well, Hyodo, and you to Kasagi-sensei? Slightly surprising the 2 kings? You've met Hyodo-kun before? Sona asked her servant, and he nodded. Wasn't he a massive pervert a month ago? Spoke the pawn. He's also quite famous for his greed, he concluded, as he looked at the miser. Sighing, Sona spoke, either way, as both of you know, my name is Sona Citri. I'm the heiress to the Citri household, and the student council president. Rather briskly. Also, Rias, do you know what time it is? Asked Sona, causing Rias to nod. Seeing her new servant's rather confused expressions, she decided to explain. Since both of you have completed numerous pacts, and also defeated relatively stronger opponents, I decided to give both of you a familiar, a servant, or ally of sorts, that completes its master's simple requests, such as janitorial work, and even pact distribution. Some can also fight side by side, she explained. As you know, Rias, I plan on giving Saji a familiar, though I'm guessing that we'll have to compete for the forest. Spoke Sona, to which Rias nodded in reply. Either they don't want to get disturbed while choosing the familiars, or the forest only opens of a single peerage. That's both expected and intriguing. Having a familiar that could complete minor tasks seems interesting enough. Kakuzu's train of thought ended when he and the rest of the devils heard a knock on the door. It was odd, considering that no other person needed to enter the clubroom. Who is it? Asked Rias, and she received an answer. I'm here to meet Rias Gremory. It was a feminine and monotone voice, which seemed a bit familiar. Slightly narrowing her eyes, Rias asked the person outside to enter. The door opened to reveal Asia, though she was dressed in rather odd clothing. Asia? You're alive? Conan spoke out in surprise. Last time they had seen her, she was dead, and a fallen angel had took her lifeless body away. No, I'm merely someone who looks like her, spoke the Asia look-alike, as she surveyed the room, spotting Sona Citri and her servants. You may call me Akebono, it seems that Sona Citri is here as well. She continued, slightly surprising the devils. Either this girl knew about the supernatural, or she was one herself. Letting out a short breath, Rias spoke. Why are you here? And how do you know who we are? With Sona wondering the same, Issei and Amy merely looked intrigued. I was sent here by my master, Azazel-sama, spoke Akebono, putting every devil except the reincarnated ones on edge. Perhaps a warning, thought Rias, as she looked at the girl. Sona was about to say something, but Akeno spoke first. Why? Her tone expressing poorly hidden anger for the fallen, slightly worrying Rias. He sent me to give all of you a warning, answered Akebono, causing the devils to narrow their eyes. They could tell that something was wrong, so it decided to elaborate. High-ranking fallen angel, Kokabiel, in collaboration with the human, Valpyr Galilei, is planning to start a war, since he was last sighted near Kuoh town, Japan. My master thought that he may be planning on starting a war that would start with your deaths, causing most devils to gasp out in surprise, with the exception of Kakuzu and Conan, who merely narrowed their eyes in thought, and Kiba, who gritted his teeth, thinking about the person who gave him so much pain. I suggest that all of you remain cautious while you carry on your normal life. If something comes up, you can contact my master, spoke Akebono, as she handed both Rias and Sona a pitch-black card, with a number written in white. Why would your master want to save us? Asked Akeno, her voice carrying hate. She immediately received an answer. Azazel-sama desires peace. Also, there is someone who wants you to be safe, spoke Akebono, as she started walking towards the door. Akeno somehow knew who that someone was. She was angry, and she wanted to know more. However, her anger decreased when she saw her friend and King's concerned face. He's not worth losing your friends, she told herself, and gave Rias a smile. With Kiba, however, it was a different story. His expression darkened, and he started walking towards the door, pushing Akebono aside, and exited the building. I'll be back later, was all he spoke when Rias tried to stop him. I will be leaving. Since Valpyr Galilei is involved, church agents might come. Please give them a card as well, spoke Akebono, as she too exited the building, after handing Rias an extra card. A rather tense atmosphere appeared in the room. Sona spoke, catching everyone's attention. Rias, the familiar forest will have to wait, spoke Sona, to which her friend nodded. Rias, the moment you or your peerage sees anyone suspicious, tell me. It would be a waste of our magic if we set up a barrier prematurely, continued Sona, and Rias nodded once again. I'll contact Onisama, so that he can close the school, spoke Rias, to which her friend nodded. As the friends were talking about what to do with the school, and by extension, their lives, two shinobi were watching them. They're surprisingly smart about this, spoke Konan, to which Kakuzu nodded. I would place their thinking at mid-shunin, he replied. Unknown to the shinobi, a girl was currently listening to their conversation. What are they talking about? Thought the girl. After a few minutes, Sona got up and signaled her servants to leave. As she followed after them, she spoke, Rias, if you need help with Yuto, don't hesitate to ask. Receiving a nod from her childhood friend. Why did Kiba act like that, President? Asked a curious Kakuzu, to which Rias sighed. Akeno, Koneko, could both of you please carry out the club activities for today? She spoke, to which her servants gave her a yes, and left the room. Issei, Amy, what I'm about to tell you is a painful part of Kiba's path, so please don't bring this up in front of him. She spoke, and the two shinobi gave light nods. It was called the Holy Sword Project. On a road to Kuoh. So let me get this straight, you were a man inside Xenovia this whole time? Irina asked her partner. The girl next to her face palmed, then spoke, it sounds worse when you say it like that, but yes, answered Itachi. Then for how long have you been lying to me? Asked Irina, saddened. Itachi, already expecting something like this, spoke, when we first met. Back then I didn't trust you enough to tell you who I was, but now I do, even if it's only my past name and occupation, replied Itachi. She then looked at Irina, whose expression changed into that of acceptance, who spoke, fine, but I've always trusted you, and you know that I wouldn't tell anyone else about this. So please, Itachi, please trust me more. The man, now a woman, replied, yes. However, my past was painful to say the least, and it's also personal. He was surprised when he felt a hug from her current partner. Itachi, thank you for saving me from your previous partner. Sasori. Also, what am I supposed to call you as? Irina asked, going back to her normal personality, causing Itachi to smile. Since I am a woman now, I guess you can refer to me as a female. Another chapter uploaded. As always, so in this chapter, as you could read, I made Itachi tell Irina about who he was, and also made someone a little suspicious of Kakuzu and Konan. Onto the review. Wokaiser Drake. I did what I thought was best, so, yeah. Bye I guess. P.S. Happy Eid to my fellow Muslims. Chapter 16 Note. I don't own Naruto or High School DxD. Occult Research Club Room. With a sigh, Rias spoke, the Holy Sword Project was a painful and a gruesome experiment carried out by a human, Galilei, on children. As both of you can expect, Kiba was one of them. Valpier, from at least what I know, was obsessed with Excalibur, and wanted someone to wield it, leading him to try creating artificial Excalibur wielders. In the end, his experiment failed, and he decided to kill the children to remove all evidence. Kiba survived, and swore to kill Galilei, and also to destroy Excalibur. After telling her new servants about her night's past, Rias put up a sad expression, worried about the blonde. Will we have to look for him? Asked the miser, receiving a shake of the head from Rias. Just give him some time. She spoke, and the miser let out a sigh in relief. Good, he'd be able to carry out a few jobs and also work on his magic. I'll be leaving, he spoke, as he walked out of the room, shortly followed by Konan, who had to take care of paperwork, leaving Rias alone in the room, with her thoughts. Later that night. Issei's room. Kakuzu opened the door to the room, ready for a night's rest. He checked the alarm on the phone, and started to sleep. As soon as he was asleep, he heard a familiar voice. Partner, it is a time for us to talk, spoke the familiar hoarse voice of the dragon. He was greeted with Issei's inner human inside their shared mindscape, something that had only happened once before. What is it? Asked the miser, as he sat down upon a chair which appeared out of nothingness. He would talk to the dragon, whilst his body would rest. I want to tell you something about your training, spoke the dragon. As soon as he sensed his partner's interest, he spoke once again. First of all, I'm impressed that you have gotten this stronger in such a short time. However, most of your training is fruitless. It is not because you're not training that much, but rather because of a seal that was placed upon you when you were reincarnated as a devil. It was probably done by the Gremory girl, in an attempt to save you from damaging yourself. I'm sure that both of us know that you are strong enough to at least wield a bit of my power, so I've decided to unseal it. Oh, that's interesting. I'm guessing that you only brought me here so that I could undo the seal? Asked the miser, and he got his response when the dragon narrowed his eyes, letting out a sigh. Kakuzu spoke once more. Okay, I'll ask Rias to undo the seal. In a rather bored way. He had some experience with fuinjutsu, but he doubted that he could do something about a seal using magic. Instead of the much more familiar chakra, it would be best for Rias to see this. He was about to exit his mindscape, when he heard a call from the dragon. What's the matter? He asked, and he received a reply from the dragon. Listen, partner. I know that you appear different physically and mentally, which is why I expect great things from you. Spoke the dragon. However, the miser had already left his mind dragon. The next day, occult research club room, Kakuzu entered the familiar room, and was greeted with Rias, a worried expression on her face. President. The miser called out, catching the girl's attention. I talked with the dragon, he told me about the seal, and I wanted you to remove it. He continued, and the girl nodded. Beckoning her servant closer, Rias spoke, Issei, please lay your head on my lap. As soon as she saw the pawn's expression, she explained, it's the only way to undo the seal. Which led to the boy laying his head on the girl's lap, something many men wished for. However, Kakuzu still had his regular, bored expression, considering that things like these could lead to your death in his previous life. After a few silent minutes, Rias spoke, Issei, I'm worried about Kiba. Her voice filled with sadness and worry. Before the miser could reply, she spoke once more, it's been a day, yet I haven't seen him, what do you think I should do? She received a simple reply, he'll be fine. He has a sacred gear that allows him to make any type of blade, as well as the fact that he is a knight. Kakuzu only did this so that Rias would have a smaller chance of screwing up the unsealing. Just as the seal was undone, the door opened to reveal a panting, young woman with short brown hair, the shape resembling that of a bat's. The same person who gave Issei the flyer. Rias-sama. It's an emergency. She spoke out, her voice rather frantic. Before Rias could ask the girl anything, she continued, I was out passing flyers. When I felt an immense holy energy. Since Kiba-sama is gone, I thought I'd tell you. As soon as Rias heard the sentence, she stood up in alarm. Her pawn was properly sitting next to her. He probably did that when her familiar came. Issei, I want you to contact Akeno, Koneko and Amy, and tell them to come here. I'll contact Sona, was all she said after. Which she pulled out her phone and called her friend, with Kakuzu doing the same. A few minutes later, Rias had told her friend about the threat, and she had dispatched her servants into groups of 2 to look for their fellow devil. She herself had ordered Akeno to go with Issei, and Amy with Koneko. The search for Kiba Yuto had begun. A search that would remain fruitless for a few days. 3 days later, with Kiba, it had been 4 days since he left the clubroom, whilst bearing great anger for Excalibur and that monster. At first, he was going to show up late at night, and stop his king, and his fellow peerage members from worrying. He would have done it, however, he had felt it. He had felt the holy energy of the damned sword, and it had taken him 3 days to properly track it. He had seen his friends more than once, however he opted to stay out of sight. This opportunity to destroy a piece of the sword probably wouldn't come again. If he was to destroy it, and by extent, kill the wielder, who he found out to be freed, he could at least avenge his friends. If he failed, he would die. In the 3 days of tracking the stray priest, he saw that he would torture both humans and strays till death, only for some sort of sacrificial practice. At times he wanted to go for the kill, but he waited, considering that a man's death would easily attract attention in a town. He had followed Freed to an abandoned warehouse, and after an hour full of pained cries and shrieks, he went inside. As soon as he entered the building, he was greeted by the stray priest's body laying on the ground, almost drenched in blood. A rather interesting-looking sword was clutched in his hand. The figure got up, and faced the blonde knight. So, you finally decided to show yourself, huh? Oh, don't be surprised, your stealth fucking sucks. Spoke the seemingly crazed priest, rather casually, which was rather strange considering that he was covered in blood. Kiba, in response, glared at his opponent, or rather his weapon, and silently created a simple, yet sharp cursed blade. he didn't knew which on it was. However, there was only one way to find out. He then drew his blade, pointing towards his opponent. "Oh, a strong and silent type. Didn't expect that," spoke Hidan, but a smile akin to an excited child's appeared on his face as soon as he saw the amount of hatred given off by the blonde, targeted mainly at his sword. Letting out a laugh, he continued, "You really fucking hate this sword, don't you? Her name's Excalibur rapidly, if you were wondering." A rather cruel smile appeared on the blonde's face, as his opponent gave away the only advantage he had. Letting out a cry, Kiba sped forth, seemingly attempting to impale the priest, who in turn dodged with ease. Expecting this, Kiba created another sword, and stabbed at the older man. The man parried the younger's stab, and let out a barrage of precise stabs at his opponent. Kiba, using his speed, either dodged or parried most of the stabs, and the ones that hit only caused minor, yet painful injuries, causing the knight to tense up for a moment, and giving the priest a small window to attack. The man let out a maddened laugh and continued attacking the knight. It could easily be said that he was enjoying the younger's pain. After a few minutes, both wielders stood apart, looking at each other. Both males' clothes were torn at various places, showing either burns or deep cuts. Kiba's expression was one of anger, while Hidan's was one of glee. "I have to say, that was such a fucking good fight," spoke the priest, grinning from ear to ear. "Too bad I'll have to kill you. I mean, with your hatred and some sadism, you would have been an excellent member of my faith," he spoke as he sped forward and stabbed the boy in his gut, causing him to gasp out in pain. The man didn't pull out the sword, but rather started to slowly turn it, causing the devil even more pain. "That should be enough to kill him slowly, oh Jashin-sama. I hope you're pleased," thought Hidan, as he finally pulled out the sword, causing the blonde to fall. The blonde, in turn, just glared at the damn sword, the object that had caused him and his friends pain, and wishing for its destruction. His hatred was, however, noticed by the stray priest. The man looked down at the younger, and grinned. He bent down and spoke, "You really hate her, don't you?" he asked. However, he didn't hear the blonde's reply, and continued, "You know, this was given to me by an old man, named Valpir." As soon as he said the name, the boy's hatred increased. The man got up, and started to leave. "You know, if you fucking survive this, may Jashin-sama's blessing be upon you," he spoke, as Kiba's world turned dark, and faded into darkness. A.N. Chapter 16, written. As you can probably guess, this chapter is a little shorter than usual, but oh well, here are the reviews. Call 0013. I'm pretty sure that intelligence is a thing, and greed. Readripper 666. Well, I have given them new abilities, so yeah. Music-minded. First of all, I picked Kakuzu because I wanted to write the first English Naruto XD fanfic featuring him as MC. Second of all, I have given the Akatsuki new abilities, e.g. Kakuzu's power can double every 10 seconds. Also, I have taken care of the dialogue, as well as Kakuzu's training. Wokaiser Drake. Thank you, and Fafnir most probably won't be Kakuzu's familiar. So, goodbye. Chapter 17. Note: I don't own Naruto or High School DxD. Where was he? All he could see was darkness, or rather he couldn't see at all. Had he died? He didn't know the answer, and was rather scared to find out. If he was dead, then why could he feel calmness and emptiness at the same time? If he was dead, then he had lived a very pathetic life. He had failed all of his friends at the project. Was it time for him to return to them? Maybe. At the same time, he had failed all of his new comrades, his new family. He had failed everyone. All he could do now was to wait. What was that? He could hear some muffled sounds that seemed familiar. Maybe he wasn't dead after all. He heard someone crying. He felt warm drops on his cold skin. Maybe he was alive after all. His thoughts then drifted towards the words of that priest, freed. What was he talking about? Something about a Jashin. If he really was alive, perhaps he would ask Issei-kun about it. After that, everything became quiet. He decided to try and wake up. One day before, with Kakuzu and Akeno, they had been searching for the knight for almost 4 days. For 4 days, Kakuzu hadn't earned any money. He would have protested, however he still feared that Gremory Era's power of destruction could easily erase him from existence. He heard a sigh. Where could have he be gone? Spoke Akeno, thinking about the blonde knight. She had felt a bit of his magic in a few areas, however it would disappear in a millisecond. She wanted to blame the fallen angel's messenger, but she couldn't, considering that she, in a way, saved their lives. Who knows? Spoke Kakuzu, catching the queen's attention. For all we know, he could have made a foolhardy mistake in his anger against the holy swords, that are merely lifeless objects, he continued. This statement truly caught Akeno's attention. So, her friend had told the two about Kiba's past then. If she had trust in them, then so would she. At least Rias hadn't spilled their secrets. At least. She was about to question her kohai, however she stopped when she felt something holy, and something demonic in their general area. As she looked over to her kohai, she could see that he had also felt it. Wasting not a single moment, the two made their way to an abandoned warehouse near the outskirts of the town. As soon as they entered the building, they were greeted by the sight of Kiba laying on the floor, blood staining the floor beneath him. Without wasting a second, Akeno transported the nightclub room and contacted the others. The others arrived swiftly within a few seconds. As soon as they saw the knight, that could see his severe injuries. Without wasting a moment, Akeno took the knight with her to the guest room in the old school building. Considering that she had the largest concentration of magic, she would save her friend, no matter what. The next day, Kiba's injuries had finally healed after at least 9 hours. The holy sword wielder had greatly harmed the boy. The damage dealt to the knight was simply sadistic, according to Issei, which was surprising. For the peerage, he was now laying down on the bed. All the members of the peerage, sans Kakuzu and Konan, were waiting for the knight to wake up. The former was off to complete a pact and earn some money. The latter was currently practicing with her spells. Everyone was in deep thought about who attacked Kiba. Koneko stood up and went to the room to check on the knight, only to come back, a small smile on her face. "Senpai's awake." She spoke, causing the others to smile. Akeno contacted the others to come to the clubroom. Unsurprisingly, only Amy came, while Issei was still completing a pact. As soon the peerage members entered the room, they could see an almost naked Kiba sitting on the bed, his nether regions covered. As soon as he saw them, he was assaulted by a hug each from both Koneko and Rias. As they stood back, Rias asked the knight, concern in her voice, "Kiba, what were you thinking?" As soon as Kiba heard these words from his king, he was struck with guilt. Before he could answer, Koneko cut him off. "We were worried, senpai." Her usual monotone voice holding sadness. "You were lucky that Akeno and Issei found you, otherwise, why you could have," Rias spoke, after which she sighed to regain her composure. "What were you thinking? And why did you leave?" she asked, receiving an answer from the blonde knight. I went after the holy sword wielder. The day I left, I just felt it near Kuoh, and the next day, I heard rumors of the sword. I went after him, and I purposely evaded you guys. I thought that I could defeat him and destroy the sword. He had expected me, and I guess I got cocky, so yeah." He spoke, letting out a bitter laugh. He received a slap from the king, something her admittedly deserved. "You were acting like an idiot," spoke Rias sharply. "You should have at least contacted us. We're your friends, no, your family Kiba. You can count on us," she continued, receiving a nod from the knight. She then asked him, "Who attacked you?" All she received was a familiar name, Fried. Now that she remembered, Fried was the insane priest that had attacked her servants before. So how did he get a holy sword, and why didn't he go for the kill? Questions clouded the king's mind, questions that were soon answered by her bishop. "That explains your scar," spoke Konan in a matter-of-fact way, catching everyone's attention, when she knew that everyone was looking at her with confusion. She explained, "Fried was the same crazed priest that tried to kill me. The only reason that Kiba's alive is because Fried's a Jashinist, not a Christian. His religion would explain why he joined Galilei, and why he probably left Kiba to die." Her explanation caused Kiba to sigh in anger at the hippoman, and the others to look at the bishop, with narrowed eyes. "What do you mean by Jashinist?" asked Rias, receiving an answer. "Fried, from at least what I know, worships a god named Jashin. His entire religion is based around pain, death and destruction. This is probably the reason why he joined Galilei in order to start a war," answered Konan, causing the others to sigh. Just how did she know about the priest's religion, something that they knew was either fake, or a newly formed one? That was the question at the back of everyone's mind. A few days later, Occult Research Club room. It had been a few days since the incident, and the peerage had mostly recovered. Since the school was closed, everyone spent the day either training or completing pacts. Mostly the latter in Kakuzu's case. As the miser made his way to the old school building, he could easily feel two very potent holy objects coming towards the school. He let out a sigh, and mostly ignored them, considering that they could possibly be from the church. After all, Hidan would probably kill any partners that he would receive. As soon as he entered the room, he could see that the peerage members were mostly doing what they would do normally. Rias and Akeno were discussing about something, Koneko was eating sweets, Kiba was reading a book, and finally Conan was making some origami. As he made his way towards a seat, he pulled out his wallet and started counting his wealth. After a few moments of silence, Rias let out a sigh. "All of you feel that, don't you?" She spoke, asking about the two holy signatures felt by the devils. She received nods from the peerage members. They had felt it earlier, and were currently trying to ignore them. They knew that these figures would most probably come to them. After a few minutes, they heard a knock on the door. Sensing the holy signatures outside, Akeno got up and opened the door, to reveal two figures wearing white cloaks. The queen merely narrowed her eyes, and made her way to the rather small kitchen area of the clubroom, to make some tea as a sign of courtesy. "The members of the church. For what do I owe this pleasure?" asked Rias, her voice neutral as she looked at the two figures. Side they were covered with cloaks, she could only see their very different hair colors, and their vastly different expressions. One had a bored expression on her face, the other had a smile. "Devils. We were sent here by our superior to discuss with you about the holy sword, Excalibur," spoke the blue-haired girl, as she sat down on a sofa, followed by her partner, opposite to Rias. At the mention of the holy blade, a dark aura enveloped Kiba. It dissipated as soon as his eyes met his Kahai's. The blue-haired girl was about to speak, however, she was interrupted by the chestnut-haired girl. "Hey Issei-kun. Long time no see," she spoke, as she looked rather happily at Issei. This promoted most of the peerage members to look at the miser with confusion. Seeing the boy's own bored and confused expression, she spoke once more. "Don't you remember? We used to play when we were young. We did go to your house but you weren't there." She gave the miser a pout, confusing him even more. Now that he remembered, according to Issei's memories, what this girl said was true. He opened his mouth, and spoke. "I was out completing a pact, and earning some money." His reply caused the chestnut-haired girl to let out a sigh. As Akeno gave the church agents their tea, receiving thanks from the two girls. "As I was about to speak, 1 week ago, the pieces of the holy sword Excalibur were stolen. The church had found most of them, yet 3 are still missing, since they were last seen with Kokebile, who appeared close to this town recently. We wanted to request you to stay out of our way," spoke the blue-haired girl. Rias narrowed her eyes at the implication. "Did you really think that I would join forces with that fallen?" she asked, rather angrily. The blue-haired girl gave her a neutral expression, and spoke. "It is possible, considering that by doing so you could easily weaken our faction. However, with your reply, I can tell that you have no intentions of joining him," causing the Gremory heiress to sigh. "Oh well, at least she wouldn't suffer a headache." "Here, take this," spoke Kakuzu, as he handed the blue-haired girl a black card, the extra card given to them by Azazel's messenger. "This was delivered to us by the leader of the fallen, Azazel," he continued, causing the chestnut-haired girl and the other devils, excluding Conan, to narrow their eyes. "Just to let you know, we were given 2. One for you, and one for us," he spoke, as the blue-haired girl took the card, and dialed the number on her phone, and spoke to the other person. As she removed the device from her ear, she sighed. "We believe that you will not join forces with Kokebile. The woman on the other side told me mostly everything. Irina, we're leaving," she spoke, as she got up, followed by her partner. Before she left, however, she showed them a picture of Freed. "Also, I would advise you all to stay away from this person. He's a Jushinist, a sadistic person who was last sighted with Exchange rapidly. Be cautious of him," she spoke as she left, followed by her partner. A.N. Another chapter written. Oh boy, I'm sorry about the short, but I hope you enjoyed it. On to the reviews. Wokaiser Drake, thank you, and probably, either way, goodbye. Chapter 18 Note: I don't own Naruto or High School DxD. The streets of Kuoh. Kakuzu was casually walking down the rather noisy streets of Kuoh. Having earned some yen, he was in a good mood. As he walked down the road, he thought about the church agent's last words last day. As soon as she had mentioned Jushinist, it had become apparent that she too was once an Akatsuki member. Though, for all he knew, an Akatsuki member himself could have told her about the idiot. As the former shinobi made his way inside a small restaurant, he heard a rather familiar cry, but Zenuvia, that was such a rare picture. He looked over to see a crying Irina speaking to her partner. Zenuvia, about a painting. Letting out a sigh, he made his way towards them. Perhaps he could find out more about them, and also count his money. He didn't disturb their discussion, as he made his way to a nearby table, though he stopped when he heard a certain sentence. But it would have only cost us around 50,000 yen, spoke Irina. Zenuvia let out a tired sigh at her partner's sentence. She was about to speak, however, before she could, someone familiar interrupted her. Irina, money is not to be wasted. She looked over and saw that Issei boy, shrouded in a dark aura, looking angrily at her partner. So, he was Kakuzu then. Irina looked over to her childhood friend in surprise. Just how much had he changed? Oh, hi Issei-kun. She spoke, almost ignoring the boy's anger. So, what brings you here, and why are you looking at me like that? She asked in confusion. As I said before, money should not be wasted. It is the only dependable thing on this planet, came the boy's answer. As soon as he said this, Irina put on a rather thoughtful expression. She was about to speak, though she was interrupted. Irina, he's right. If we had bought that obviously fake painting, we would have wasted all of our money for staying in Kuoh. We would have to sleep on the streets and beg for money, and at the same time, I'd have to ignore all of you protests. Spoke Zenuvia, a hint of amusement in her voice. All she received was a neutral look from Kakuzu, and a sheepish look from Irina. As she looked at the devil, she spoke, so, as Irina asked before, what brings you here? Kakuzu. Her question gave her a rather confused look from Irina, and a sigh from the miser. A member of the Akatsuki, just what I expected. Spoke Kakuzu as he sat down opposite to the blue-haired girl. He then looked towards the pervert's childhood friend, thinking about what to do with her. The blue-haired girl saw this, and faked a cough, catching the miser's attention. I've already told her about myself, and about a few selected people from our previous lives. If you're planning something, I will stop you. Spoke Zenuvia. In response, Irina's eyes widened at the fact that someone like Itachi would protect her, and also at the fact that her once childhood friend could kill her. As I asked, what are you doing here? Zenuvia asked once more, receiving another sigh from the miser. After you spoke about the idiot Hidan, I just wanted to know who you were. To be fair, this is more of a coincidence considering that I just earned some money. Spoke the miser, receiving a nod from the girl. So, who are you? He asked. Uchiha Itachi. Replied the girl, causing the boy to nod in understanding. That made sense. After a brief silence between the former shinobi, Irina spoke, so, Kakuzu-san, would you like to join us for a meal? She asked nervously, and to her surprise, the boy nodded. The miser let out a sigh, but before he could speak, a waiter came, delivering some food to the church agents. Could you please deliver me some onkimo? Asked the miser, to which the waiter nodded. The streets of Kuoh. The three had just taken their meal, and had split up. Kakuzu had decided to earn some more money, and the church agents had decided to buy a hotel room for their stay at Kuoh. As the church agents were walking, Irina suddenly spoke, so, Itachi, who was Kakuzu? Rather nervously. She received a rather tired sigh from the former Uchiha. She was about to apologize, but stopped when her partner actually answered. Kakuzu was, quite possibly the oldest person I'd met. He had the strange ability to take the hearts of his enemies, and by extension, their abilities, prolonging his own lifespan. As soon as she spoke, she could easily see the rather scared and flabbergasted expression on Irina's face. She'll probably not ask about our abilities anymore, she thought. As the two were walking in silence, they heard a scream from nearby, alerting them. Irina nodded at her partner, and started running towards the source of the noise, followed by Itachi. The noise had led them to a rather small abandoned building, with a small crowd gathered around. The two cautiously made their way inside, pushing through the crowd, and ignoring all the protests from the civilians. The moment the two walked inside, they were treated by the metallic smell of blood, and a shrill laugh. "Oh boy. I knew there were other wielders here," spoke a white-haired man, with a crazed grin on his face. "Both of you shall make great sacrifices," he spoke, as he raised a long black rod, pointing one end towards the women. In a moment, a pitch-black blade on the mentioned end. Narrowing her eyes, Itachi spoke, "Irina. This person's attacks are strong and deadly, though he should probably leave a few openings. Either way, stay on your guard." Her partner nodded at her words, and transformed Excalibur Mimic into a simple spear. "So, would you two beauties please roll over and die?" asked the crazed person, with a smirk on his face. Though he got his answer in the form of the blue-haired girl unwrapping her own sword, revealing it to be Excalibur Destruction, and the two putting off their cloaks, revealing black-colored battle attire. Their decision was finalized. When the blue-haired girl pointed the end of her blade towards him, the man sighed. "Good, I like it when they suffer," he spoke, his grin back on his face. For a few seconds, no one moved. In an instant, Hidan ran forward, intent on killing at least one of them. As soon as they were in range, he struck out towards the chestnut-haired one. His strike was, unfortunately, countered when the girl he attempted to hit dodged it, and then stabbed at him using the end of her spear. Before the weapon could reach its target, it was intercepted by a rather strange sword colored a pale purple. As soon as the man blacked the spear, he grinned, as he vanished from the girl's sight. She was confused when she felt an odd feeling from the ceiling. She looked up to see the same man, though covered in blood. His maniac grin strangely seemed more menacing, and a sinister aura emanating from him, the mark for Jashin behind him. It was strange, but she felt scared, as she looked at the